You may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Astrolab. It is, yes, you may now proceed with the jokes. We are returning to the original start time. Yeah, no, that's not going to be a thing. I actually was not going to do a show today. I was not in the mood. I was in a dour mood. I tried taking a nap to see if it would kind of kick me out of the funk, but I was like, I don't care about any of this shit. I have other stuff I want to do with my mind. I don't want to go listen to podcasts and like just hear takes and try to like filter through the timeline and find some sort of signal about anything. I was just like, yeah, not going to do a show. And it wasn't until it was like 7:30 my time. I was just getting ready to fire off the notification. Like I was literally pulling my phone out to fire off the notification of no show today. And wouldn't you know it, King Zoomer Cooper Brooks calls me right at that moment. Divine intervention, you might say. Calls me right at that moment. And just wanted to chat for a little bit. We talked for about a half an hour maybe. And I told him, I'm like, I'm not going to do a show. I'm just like, I'm in it's not even like the old man yelling at the clouds kind of. I'm like, I don't even fuck the clouds, you know. I'm gonna go do my own thing. I don't want to like come on the show and start talking about stuff when I don't have anything to say. I don't want to like just say things just for the sake of saying them. But you know, also this is the way that I do make money. This is the way I support my family. So I have to be. I can't make those decisions lightheartedly. So I agonized over it for a little while and I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'm not going to do it. And then, and Cooper, I don't know, kicked me back into gear. He wasn't busting my ass or anything. He was just like, just wanted to chat, and he was having a grand old day and covered a few topics that I'm not going to talk about here on the stream yet. And I finished up and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do a show. It's going to be late. It's going to be real late. Because I haven't even started to put it together. I gone and looked through all the tabs that I had, and I was like, nothing here is really getting the juices going, you know? And there's one subject in particular that I've been holding off on weighing in on, kind of trying to figure out an angle that I can, in good conscience, proceed forth with. And that is the Hungarian election. I can't speak to it at all. Like, I don't know anything about Hungary, basically. It's like the conservative of the it's the thorn in the side of the EU, and Viktor Orban is the guy who's shaped like an orb. You know, I barely understand the history of Hungary. Just kind of passing. I had a cello teacher from Budapest. That's my awareness of Hungary. I'm very proud of being able to say Budapest. But So I don't like I don't want to weigh in on something that I don't understand. I don't know about at all. I don't track European politics that closely. I mean, I'm probably in like the I don't know 97th percentile of Americans in terms of my knowledge of European politics, even though I could just barely scratch the surface because Americans do not give a shit about European politics. The only time Americans ever give a shit about European politics is when they want to dunk on it. That's the only time it ever shows up in the mind. Or they're like, wow, look at these stupid fags. That's the posture that just ordinary generic Americans have toward European politics. They don't feel that way about Europeans necessarily. I mean, obviously there's plenty of that, and some of it's for the meme, and some of it is legitimate. But by and large, Americans tend to be pretty fond toward Europe. They just see it as being like a beautiful place that's in terrible hands. And there's a reason why we left. But for what it is, it's beautiful ancient history. There's lots of really unique, fascinating cultural idiosyncrasies about the different European regions and stuff, and it's the history of our people. So we have an affinity for it. We would rather be on good terms than not, even though there's always going to be that relational rivalry. So Hungarian politics, I'm like, I don't know shit about this. I can't be weighing in on these sorts of things. So I had to wait until there was something that I felt like I could weigh in on. Something that I could be qualified to make this observation, even if I don't understand all of the nuances and everything that go underneath it. Because like you guys think about the way that American politics is for us, that people will speak in like really broad terms about certain aspects of it. And it's like, yeah, that's sort of maybe like the meme of it, but that doesn't really reflect the reality. Especially those of us who follow it pretty closely. From the outside in, and you've seen this a lot with a lot of the Euro-Right commentary, where they've just revealed that it's not even that they're wrong, it's that they don't even understand the thing that they're talking about. And you can tell by the way their commentary takes shape. It's like, you're clearly not Americans, and that's not a problem. It's not a problem for you to be not an American, but you have to recognize that just because you have an outsized awareness of the American empire because of the nature of the American identity, just because you have that doesn't make you an American. Like, this is kind of the whole point. You aren't an American, so you don't have an American's view of America. You're by necessity commentating on it from the outside in, but that awareness is not present among the Euro-Right commentary. Now, there's a lot of Americans who tend to echo a lot of their points and tend to take on their worldview, so to speak. And this is like an ancient tradition within America, is particular niche American classes becoming obsessed with niche European political movements or organizations or cultural aspects and seeking to import them and to take them on. This is one of the most American things that has ever been around. This is part of what perpetuates the centuries-long crisis of, not even a crisis that has crisis points, but the centuries-long rivalry back and forth between the United States and the European ancestors. So I don't remember where exactly I was going with that, but this kind of these are the things I was thinking about, and I'm like, I know how it feels when I see an outsider on European an outsider commenting on American politics. So I don't want to be that outsider who's commenting on like Hungarian politics. But there's stuff that's extending out beyond Hungary, so that I think I can commentate on. So we're gonna get to that here on the back end. There's some this is a tough nut to crack. Everyone has their like knee-jerk reactions to it, and the problem for me is that I think all of their knee-jerk reactions are correct. And all of their knee-jerk reactions can't quite be correct unless we're going to completely break the frame and replace it with a new one. So that's kind of been a thing that I've been navigating my way through. And then there's a bunch of stuff here related to China that kind of colors that whole picture. So once the juices got going this morning and I started putting the show together, then some of the stuff that I had in the hopper waiting, I was like, oh, here's actually a thing I can say about that. Here's what that fits in. So anyways, that's why we're starting late. Dave Johnson, the Gatriot, with 10 gifted subs. Thank you, Dave. This is, it's funny. This is probably the best time of day to be live. I've thought about this. Like, if I really wanted to optimize, this would probably be about the best time, like smack dab in the middle of the day. But yeah, no, it's not going to happen. But thank you, Dave. Let's give you your oh my God. Let's give you your reward.
You know, Dave Johnson is the gayest person to ever walk this green earth.
Here is the biggest, gayest man in the world.
Wow. So gay. So gay.
The gayest man, the great Gatriot. We're going to talk a little bit about one of our other great Gatriots in a little bit, the Aristofag himself. There's some interesting commentary there. The gifted subs, let me see if I recognize any of these names. Trent Fear, haven't seen that one in a while. Carradwin, Gaga. Dave, you gifted a sub to Gaga. What are these other ones? Giant Scary Hellcock, that one might be real, I suppose. Edgar R, maybe rings a bell. But you know, the money spends all the same. So thank you, Dave. Also, thank you to Pale Morning Dude for the kicks, and then Flicker Rate, Modest Contemplations, and Arthurian Candidate all resubscribed. Thank you for doing that, you guys. And then I've got a let's see, I got a tip here. So a 1488 tip that came in from Kadrian Stolly, but it's it didn't trigger the alert for some reason, and I'm not sure why that is. His is set up as a monthly tip, which is one thing that you can do. You can set up a monthly tip that will just go recurring. You're that's kind of like gifting a sub, except more. But it looks like the automation probably is not set up to pick up the monthly tips for some reason. That's kind of what I'm guessing. So anyways, here is the Erica. I got to make sure my tip alert is on. Thank you, Kadrian. Kadrian's a patriot. Thank you, sir. I don't know what his message was. I played one of the alerts from the last episode. By the way, thank you to all of you guys who hit the $29 alert for Amy's birthday. It made her very happy, and we had a great Slutty Milk beating straight buster to it. We had a great birthday dinner for her. So thank you to you guys for helping to sponsor that. The $29 alert, I'll just leave it on there. If you want to hear Eastwood's voice, then I'll just leave that there. Tips.kingpill.com. Of course, you got $29 now. You've got $14.88. You've got $88. You've got $47. You've got over $100 and over $200. I believe those are the special alerts that I have in there right now, with more to come soon. Also, come on. What's going on? Wait for it. What's going on here?
Here comes
there it is! Alpha Male Alert!
Money talk. Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Howie Snowden.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
Happy birthday, Amy.
Thank you, Howie. You patriot, sir. And I think that does it all. Howie is... Oh, no, there's one more. Howie is one of the great supporters of the show. Deeply appreciated. Finally got to meet him in person last year when I was up there in D.C., and that was awesome. Howie is a good one. We got one more.
I am driving and have terrible service. Know that I am here in spirit.
Thank you, Accordius Minimus. I'm going to hazard a guess that is our good friend and propagandist, Jeff Accordion. Now, you did $1.49. I'm wondering if that was supposed to be a $14.88, but it didn't go through right or something. Okay, I'm not going to rant. Not going to rant. Let me check off all of these, make sure we are good to go. No other supporter stuff here in the column. Oh no, there is another one. Nazi pedo suicide faggot. What a patriot.
First.
Well, you weren't quite the first, unfortunately, but Sorry, Jeff. I gotta acknowledge that that name is that is first place. That is a first place name. Amy says that guy. My wife, by the way, is putting together the nice list. Anybody who monetarily contributes to the show gets put onto the nice list. The rest of us are all on the naughty list permanently. Straight Buster says add Groyper to the end, and that's a great Twitter handle. I was just thinking that, like, maybe this is a thing. You know how the Groypers have their thing, or like Howling Mutant has his thing. Everyone who submits a tip here can just have their own thing. We got another one from him.
Hungarians are steppe people. Hungary. Like those guys who smashed the ancient world. The last Yamnaya, Black Sea peoples have been subverted by Jews. I hate Magian civilization. America to lend est. Puritanism and its consequences have been a disaster.
I know exactly who that is. Yes, the Hungarians. Hungarians, indeed. The America Delinda Est should be a clue to you longtime supporters of the Lave as to who we're dealing with now, who has showed up. Puritanism and its consequences have been a disaster. That actually was that sort of observation, kind of directionally. That observation was one of the things that turned me into a I don't know, Patriot, I suppose. Suda!
Play Week 65 preview. Believe me, you will want to play it again tomorrow.
Week 65 preview. Okay, I'm looking at the. I'm looking here. I'm trying to figure out which one you mean. You've sent me a bunch, like multiple different links, and I don't know which one is supposed to be which. So can you just real quick? Can you just send me the one more time? And I'll just play whatever link you send here next. He told me already what the movie is going to be for this weekend. It's called Week 65 Preview. That's the title of the link. Okay. Week 65 Preview. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Did you send it yet? He's already posted this week. So this Saturlab is going to be The Departed. That is the feature presentation. Here we go. This one right here. Well, that's just opening the full link. Oh, there we go. I got it. The desktop UI for XDMs is not the greatest. Okay, so we have got a Suda preview for Week 65, and he promises us it's going to be so good that we're going to want to watch it tomorrow as well. I'm prepared. Ooh, I heard the thunder. Oh yeah, baby. Irish Kino.
That he slew, Odin cried.
I'm gonna chimp! Oh, the horns! Blood memories! Oh, man, when the white man's warrior culture rises once more. Oh, see, the white man's warrior culture hasn't disappeared. It's gone underground. It will ride once more. We're beginning to see the flashes, the hints, the sparks. They're coming. He says you're gonna chimp at a music selection Saturday. We have some all-timer tracks. Some behind waves, others all on their own. Well, hell yes. Hell yes. I am very, very ready for that. Make sure you guys show up on Saturday for the Suda Wave. We got a couple more tips that just came in. Victor Orban me YouTube. No, please don't.
Hungarians, am I right? If you're gonna turn Europe around, they would be a natural place to do it. JD Vance is cursed. Jewish diversion Vance indeed. They make great salami and may or may not have invented paprika. I think Buddha is a Roman side. Pest, well.
You know, it's funny. My when I used to play a lot of Halo and Call of Duty, my gamer tag was Dwell Hungarian. It's kind of like my first email address that I created when I was like, I don't know, 8 maybe or 9 was Seattle_stud8. Even then, I remember creating it kind of like I was memeing from an early age. I remember sort of doing it kind of tongue in cheek, but yeah, that was it.
The perfect gift.
Money. Happy belated birthday, Mrs. Kingpill. Warms my Joe's heart to see the young Eric sign tap into his Talmudic roots. When is his bar mitzvah?
Ozzy Steen, thank you. The young Eric Steen. We need to make some more Eric Steens. Thank you, Ozzy Steen. You patriot, sir. From Seattle stud to MAGA chud. Wow, so true. Screwed up Nevsky. So true. Speaking of dads, we're gonna get into a little more baseball propaganda here at the top. Some dad somewhere. These guys just don't hit 365 anymore. In my day, Jimmy Johnson Cooter Nickel was a true hitter. This is why they don't hit 365, Ron. Look at this.
That's the kind of start you want. We saw Paul Skeens get off to a terrific start last time out against.
Imagine trying to hit that.
Start you want. We saw Paul Skeens get off to a terrific start last time out against the.
Paul Skeens is an alien. Stephen Miller, we found one.
Last time out against the.
Can't believe that Cardinals fans haven't been calling Stephen Miller and reporting Paul Skeens as an alien. Jimmy Johnson Cooter Nickel. And look at this. Look at this one. Whatever you're doing right now. Maybe you've never watched baseball. You don't have to understand baseball to get this. Stop whatever you're doing. Look at your screen, open up your device, whatever you need to do, and look at this shit. You can see when the ball changes trajectory.
And they're all really good.
Yeah.
Look at that. It does like a little shimmy in the air.
And they're all really
And
good.
Yeah.
Right? They're all bottom.
I have never seen that. Like, that's like a knuckleball. That's like it's a changeup. And it's got, I think he throws his changeup in the high 80s. So it's like a fast changeup that knuckles.
Really good.
Yeah.
Right? They're all bottom
Insane. This is why really good baseball players are fantastically wealthy. Incredibly wealthy. Hand-eye coordination like a mother. All right, now we got a couple of Patriot reports I have to bring to you guys. This first one, well, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to play it.
Scary situation in Westlake yesterday. Police and the family of a 91-year-old woman unable to get a hold of her. But officers never could have imagined what they were about to find when they went to check things out. Our Scott Knoll explains.
Westlake police at the home of a 91-year-old woman Thursday night.
783, garage doors open. We're gonna make entry.
Police, her family, all unable to get a hold of the homeowner.
And vehicles in the garage.
The woman, a part of the city's Are You OK program. This time, another woman not answering the call.
Everyone's a little bit alarmed that she was missing these contacts.
What would police find this time?
Westlake police!
To protect the woman's identity, police didn't release any more of that video. But what happens next, no one would have guessed.
Turned out to be all okay. Everyone got a good laugh out of it.
Police found her all right in her room. We'll let the officers called to dispatch explain the rest.
We're here with her now. She's playing video games in her bedroom.
Police say not just playing video games, but trying to beat her record level, officers say. In the process, missing those attempts to check in on her. But we're told, thankful police came out. In Westlake, I'm News 5 investigator Scott Knoll.
I'm like writing a fan fiction in my head now about how the 91-year-old gamer granny got radicalized under Gamergate, and like it wasn't just the experience of Gamergate, but it was also like the experience of Gamergate from the perspective of another woman. So like you have like the intra-female rivalry there between them. And then the thing she says hard R's, yeah. Gamer Granny. Gamer Granny is absolutely dropping him in the chat. Imagine getting your ass kicked by a 91-year-old granny. This has got to be one of our MAGA grandmas. It's got to be. This is a MAGA great grandma. Just incredible scenes. Aspiring Midwit in the chat, he says, Granny, are you okay? Are you okay, Granny? He also said, I'm having a Black reacts to street magic moment watching Skeen's pitching prowess.
The N-word.
What's up, Josh Ham in the chat? Also, got a couple over on Rumble. Tosh God of Fool says, good morning, and of course, a wonderful nigger faggot to everyone. This is how he greets us in the chat each morning. He's holding it down to the Rumble chat. A wonderful nigger faggot to you as well, Tash, God of Fools. He says, thanks for all the amazing content and hard work. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for watching. Also, Chud88 says, what's up, nerds? That's Chode88. Are you Borp88? Because that's Borp's. That's Borp's intro, and I don't know if I can let you take it, unless you are Borp. Chode88. Speaking of Patriots, the people you encounter while cold calling owners of commercial real estate in Florida. This is pretty much the entirety of his LinkedIn profile. Experience, Patriot, USA, October 1966 to present, 59 years, 7 months. When I tell you that I love America, this is what I'm talking about. The man has one experience entry on his LinkedIn. Patriot. Location, USA. Since October of 1966. Now, I'd like to know if that's his birthday. Is he saying that he's a patriot since birth? Or was there a significant moment? Was there a significant happening in October of 1966 that converted him to patriot? Was he... Victor!
I'm absolutely shitting my asshole out right now. Is Weird Steven the secretary of Esoterica? Holy shit, she needs to be wifed up now. Salty Milk, your gift drop has arrived.
Oh no!
Granny Tranny Giga Gooning is your weeknight plans no more. Guna Wastelutrk.
No! No! Get it away! A pox! A pox be upon you! Don't do this to my man Slutty Milk. Giga Granny Gooning. Oh, First Citizen, you're adding to the lingo here right now, I can tell. Oh man. And speaking of First Citizen, by the way, I didn't weigh in, but I saw the conversation happening in the Discord this morning. None of that resentment shit. We love our boomers. Like this guy right here. This guy just got a huge tax refund because he's been a patriot since 1966. We got to reward our boomer patriots. Don't you think I didn't see that? And look who else made an appearance.
Why are you gay?
He said the thing.
No, you can't deny. You are gay. And you got gay friends who are telling everyone how you became the gayest of all of them. Shame.
I'm gonna have to add this to the Dave Johnson video. It's got to go there. It's got to go. Here, I'll give you the link. Just beautiful. I want to hear it again. I want to hear it again. Look at his face.
Why are you gay? No, you can't deny.
These are like my favorite kinds of Africans.
And you got gay friends who are telling everyone how you became the gayest of all of them. Shame.
I feel like yes, I do have gay friends. I know, and they're always talking about how gay I am. I'm sorry, okay? Stop staring into my soul. We got to keep some of them around, right? We got to keep some of them around. I mean, maybe we build like special constraints, interact with them through glass, give them special housing and free food. We got to keep them around somehow. I got to get my fix every now and then. Bobby Wallbeck says that guy needs one of those accounts where people pay you to send. Yeah, that's true. This dude could make a killing doing that. I can't remember what they're called. Where you people just pay you to like read a message to their friend or something. Cameo, yeah, Cameo. Dude, this guy could own Cameo. That would be a fantastic idea. Speaking of gay.
When the budget was released, I was shocked to find out that Prime Minister Carney is cutting $7 billion between Indigenous Services Canada and Crown Indigenous Relations. They provided $0 to deal with...
They provided $0 to deal with...
the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2SLGBTQIA+.
How's that again?
Genocide of MMIW G2SLGBTQIA+. With the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2SLGBTQIA+. With the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2SLGBTQIA+.
You realize that this means she has spent a substantial amount of time standing in front of a mirror, repeating this over and over again, memorizing it. There is no way that you just naturally are able to say that. I mean, their languages do weird things, but there's no way you to sit there and memorize that and retain it to where you in like a public speaking situation, you could just, and she nailed it. Just boom, Launched right into it, blew right through it, not even a hiccup. She has spent hours of her life standing there memorizing that for precisely this moment. And boy, did she ever nail it. Matt Walsh says, for those who don't speak woke retard, I looked it up and apparently MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+ means missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and asexual. And they also have the plus there. Like, just you know, it's sort of like it's like having the built-in mechanism for amending the Constitution, like adding another amendment to it. You got to do it this way. It's just like the mechanism for it is right there. Because there's a plus there, you can just add anything to it whenever you want. So apparently they'd added murdered people into the LGBTQ community. Murdered is now a queer identity. This is the kind of innovation we get from Canada. Imagine successfully selling a political scheme where you manage to successfully convince people that they need to allocate tax dollars to preventing the genocide of murdered Indigenous women. This would be like a game show challenge where you have to go out there and you have to convince people that we're raising money to support murdered people. Why were they murdered? No, they're just murdered people. Are we trying to stop them? No, we need to stop the genocide of the murdered people. Weren't they already? And like, it's brilliant, honestly. Like this is masterful scamming. Tremendous scamming. An entire nation's government built upon scams like this. Not just that nation, tons of nations built on scams precisely like this. This is what Donald Trump is at war with. Call it whatever you want. Now, I do think that they actually kind of buried the lead on this story. NDP MP Leah Gazan, her fucking name is literally Gazan. Her name is Gazan. NDP MP Leah Gazan condemns Budget 2026 for cutting $7 billion from Indigenous Services Canada and Crown Indigenous Relations. The buried lead here is that $7 billion was cut from programs that deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+. I'm reading that, by the way. I did not memorize it. The Canadian government is cutting $7 billion from those sorts of programs. And one of the major places that they're reallocating now is defense spending. This is one of their big initiatives under Mark Carney now. They're going to get up to that 5% NATO line. But you're seeing this woman here is legitimately upset because she's being abandoned and left behind by her government. Because her government's going somewhere else. Is being forced to go somewhere else. Now, speaking of women, I've got a clip here from Trigonometry. But also the clip itself is about women.
Because what they do is they create chaos, and then at some point they go, look at all the chaos. And it's like, yeah, I know. That's because you're doing that. And then they go, look at all the chaos.
How much would someone need to pay you to record a podcast sitting next to your co-host like this? I mean, I know you would do it for some amount of money. What's your line? Like what would you need to get out of it to be recorded and seen millions of times sitting on a bench snuggled up next to your co-host like this? I'm sure that I guarantee you there's not a single person in the chat who would not do it for some amount of money. My question is, how much? Would it need to be a lump sum? Does it change if it's a lump sum versus if it's like an annuity? How much, what would be your threshold to be recorded in public? You have to take the place of one of them. How about that? You have to take the place of one of them. You can pick which one you get to take the place of, but you got to take the place of one of them, and you got to sit next to them with a straight face and record a podcast that will be seen by millions of people. What is your limit? Tobias says 1K, I'm Euro poor. See the absolute state of our European brothers. $1,000.
And it's like, yeah, I know. That's because you're doing that. And then they go, don't you want the chaos to end? You know, and so what the phenomenon that's kind of interesting with Trump is like, what if I just said as an example, you know, you and your wife, and your wife said, I'd like to go to bed at night and leave the front door open. And you go, I don't want to do that because like raccoons would come into the house, a stray dog. And they go, no, that's what I want to do. And you go, no. And then you come downstairs in the morning, the trash is all torn through because a family of raccoon walked through your living room. And so
Amy says he's sitting next to him like a 5-year-old sits next to someone. Ask her how she knows.
on and so forth. And then you say to your wife, can we just shut the front door? Can we just shut the front door? And she goes, no. And you go, I'm shutting the front door. And you shut the front door. But she's throwing a fit every single night. And then at some point, your kids just go, just open the front door. I'm so tired of hearing her. I'm so tired of the arguing. And you go, but we shut the front door and we didn't get any raccoons. I know, but I don't want to hear this anymore. Just do it. You know, and you go, fine, we'll do it. And so you go, oh, you open the front door. And now there's raccoons back in the house, but there's no more arguing. And at least your kids can go in the room and shut the door and go to bed, you know? And so it's in a way, it's like being blackmailed, right? So you go, I don't want the front door. And I go, yeah, but don't you just want peace? Don't you just want some peace in your home? And you go, okay. And that's sort of what they do. They go out and they fight everything. It could be ICE. It could be a ballroom. It could be anything to do with the border. It could be any transgender. They just fight everything. And then at some point they go, aren't you tired of the chaos? Don't you just want some peace? Don't you want to just get back to normal? Don't you just want to get some middle of the road, somebody, just put our guy in there, open the front door, no more arguments, and we can get on with our life. Wouldn't that be nice? And I'm like, it would be nice, but there's an alternative one, which is you shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, just...
See, I watched through the first like 2 minutes of this and I was like, okay, you know, this is good. It's titled, what is the Longhouse here? Is Cito Disrespector said, what is the Longhouse with it? That's he's describing the Longhouse exactly. If you don't want to know what the Longhouse is, he's describing it. That is the Longhouse. You're getting longhoused into doing something where you get manipulated and harangued and shamed and bludgeoned into doing something. And there are men who can do this. Men can longhouse. Men can inhabit that feminine spirit and do that. When they're nagging the emperor, they're embodying the spirit of the longhouse. The peanut gallery thing, that is longhousing. That is attempted longhousing by ostensible men. But I'm like, okay, you know, this is kind of interesting. I'll listen to a clip like this, and I'm like, what could I say about that? Could I draw something out of that to benefit the estimable listeners of the Lab? And I was like, okay, well, you know, Adam Carolla talking on trigonometry, making a really good, like a compelling case to like a Brett Weinstein sort of listener about why we need an immigration moratorium and why Democrats are insufferable caricatures of the nagging feminine. Like, that's a pretty good. That's nice, you know, great. It's a sign of where the Overton window has moved. But then the way he rounded it off, I was like, oh, yes, thank you. You're not just providing a description of the problem and being like, isn't that bad? You're providing the solution.
Arguments, and we can get on with our life. Wouldn't that be nice? And I'm like, it would be nice, but there's an alternative one, which is you shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, just...
Imagine hearing that, and that's your reaction to it.
There's an alternative one, which is you shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, just let ICE do their job.
That term was used by NDP party leaders, a party absolutely jeeted to the ground by Jagmeet Singh. They have no official power and are standing in the way of Carney's personal North Korea. Majority government without election is a dictatorship. Hail Mark.
And the horseshoes around. Please, Victor or ban me YouTube. Please give us a discourse on Jagmeet Singh. I want to know everything there is to know about Jagmeet Singh.
You shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, just let ICE do their job. Let the border patrol do their job. How about you just sit back and let everyone do their job for 10 minutes? Let them add a ballroom onto the East Wing. How about that? Let them, because that's the other alternative.
Let them nuke Iran.
I'm going to shut the front door. You shut the fuck up, and we'll get on with our lives with no raccoons. We could do that, but you won't let that happen.
They are not responding to what he's saying at all. How about you shut the fuck up? Me? He knew he was talking about him. Agitprop Master says, I've started ordering my wife around more, often in an abrupt and rude manner. She complains sometimes, but I notice she gets turned on a lot more often. Data point. Noted. Although, it probably would have been better if I would have noted that outside the awareness of my wife. She is a stubborn woman. Yeah, good point, Ben Shapiro on 2X. More nominative determinism in Mark Carney. He's the Carney. Canadians are the Marks. Okay, what did I have here? One other thing about the nature of the female mind and why having the female mind involved in governance or female-minded people involved in preserving the foundational structures that maintain a civilization. This is why that cannot happen. Why the women who can participate in that are the exception, not the rule. And the thing is that the reason the women can't be that is because, like, they are the foundation. They don't need to be involved in establishing the foundation. They are the foundation. And the men are establishing the foundation with them.
There was a study done where men and women were hooked up to brain scanners as they watched people play a game. They got to see whether the people playing the game were playing fairly or whether they were cheating at the game. And the people playing were connected to electric shock machines. So electric shocks would go into these people as they were playing, and they would measure the brains of the men and women watching. So every time a player that was playing fairly got an electric shock, both men and women's empathy centers lit up. Whenever an electric shock would go into a person that was cheating, women's empathy centers lit up just the same as with the fair playing person, but men's empathy centers did not light up at all. Actually, their pleasure center lit up. Super key psychological distinction between men and women.
So when the cheater was punished, the women reacted, they felt the same level of empathy, whereas the men actually experienced it. I don't think it's exactly pleasure centers, but basically there's like a, I don't know, maybe like a justice center or something there that lit up for the men. And Agitprop Master says, oop.
Well, he became the leader of the NDP after doing a struggle session at my high school in 2009. He took over after the prior leader, childless, cancer-ridden, also became relevant as the opposition. Jack Layton was married to Olivia Chow, Toronto mayor now.
Neat! Wow. I learned something new today about Jagmeet Singh. Thank you, Victor or ban me YouTube. You're very good at following instructions. Agitprop Master says, my wife heard this and was like, it probably wouldn't be the same if the women were conservative. See, here's the thing. I know, like, every woman would want to see herself as the exception to this. And there are definitely women who are the exception to this. But when you're talking about the civilizational scale, then all the collective characteristics are going to move toward the mean for the population. So in general, this is going to be the case for women. So the establishment of a civilization must necessarily correct for that tendency. Now, you don't want to eliminate that tendency. because that is a Christ-like tendency to have empathy for the guilty person who is being punished for being guilty. Retaining empathy for that person is a Christian trait. And that's a great value that women preserve that for us. Because if you just had people who experience pleasure at what they perceive as justice, and it wasn't mediated or balanced by that feminine instinct, then obviously we have an entire post-war consensus that is built and developed around the notion that such a thing must never exist. But there must be balance. My president is restoring balance to the force. I have this one in here as well. It's kind of sort of related, a generational thing. Mark Norman is the funniest working comedian in the game. They did a show where they intentionally set him up with the worst possible, easily offended audience, Gen Z girls, and they saw how he handled it. So his audience here is, I've seen very little of him. I've seen some of his clips going by in the past and thought he was moderately funny, but these are pretty good, and particularly the skill with which he's working the audience.
Good to be here. I used to date a girl who lived in this neighborhood, Jewish gal. Any Jews here? Hey, all right, get them. No, I'm just kidding. Just joking. Good to have you. Thanks for tunneling. Ex-girlfriend was Jewish. Met her on that Jewish app, PayPal. Okay.
Watch your face.
All right. I'll be a little darker than the other guy as well. Not the black. But,
Anyways, Juggers took them from being the official opposition of the Harper conservatives, who made the middle class in Canada the best in the world. Ironically, the middle class politics was their thing. And Jugjeet played Among Us with Uck during COVID.
Played Among Us with AOC during COVID. Fascinating. A fascinating discourse on the recent history of Canadian electoral politics.
All right. Hey, thank you. Just joking. I'm a comedian. Don't worry. Just zingers. Okay. How about that Mamdani? Yeah, there you go. He won. I live next to a billionaire, so he was like, I'm praying to God he doesn't win. I was like, well, he won, so you better start praying 5 times a day. Oh, yeah. He was like, oh, he's Muslim, though. He's going to be mean to women. I'm like, you're thinking of Cuomo. Okay. All right. And they're like, well, he's anti-Semitic. I'm like, well, he's doing free buses, not trains. Okay. That's for the Jewish gal. All right. We're back. Cool.
Yeah, the audience is intentionally all Gen Z women. So they gave him the most easily offended audience, and then he had to work the audience. And it's masterful. The way he's not really giving them time to be offended because he's rapid fire hitting them with another one. And he's sort of spreading it around, so they're trying to figure out which offense are they going to organize around here? Wait a second, is he insulting... What? And a couple of them just went right over their heads. That is a brave man. That is a brave man. There's a whole video of it. I haven't gone and watched it. But he said it's Autism Capital says it's hilarious the entire way through. It was, can Gen Z take a joke? This was precisely the premise of it. Human Trials is the show where stand-up comedians perform to a mystery crowd united by something. That sounds actually pretty interesting. I may have to give that a watch. I'll see if it's interesting, if it's worth doing as a doing more stuff from it on the lab. What's it called? It's called Human Trials. So that was episode 1. Can Gen Z take a joke?
The only gameplay thing he was good at was lying about killing everyone. He did successfully get Justin Trudeau to give Dindal and some gay stuff during his time. But the last election they had 2 seats. Fagged sheets and made the NDP gay, and fought him.
And BTFO'd them. Well, we're going to be discussing a little bit of non-American electoral political wrangling here in just a little bit. So you guys are getting set up for that with a little learning about Jagmeet Singh's history in Canadian politics. Now, thank you, my Leaf brother. Aristophanes shares this, says this is like a fever dream from a bunch of dudes screwing around in a GC made manifest. Investment Hulk says, this is better than anything on that piece of shit called Netflix right now. Give this a watch. This is a, well, just watch.
What if I told you the laws of physics were literally being destroyed?
I'd say you were going crazy.
Maybe I am crazy.
The N-word.
This was supposed to be our timeline.
And somehow we ended up over here. This isn't a glitch. Let it go. I'm gonna need someone who isn't afraid of risk.
Fry!
Listen to me very carefully. I'm gonna get you out.
So scientists are now saying that there are a series of baffling incidents that appear to defy the known laws of physics.
The math doesn't add up anymore, which means someone, something is changing the math.
It's like they built a back door into the universe.
Uh-oh.
Hello, Neil. Time to divide everything by 0. Ha 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 ha.
Dude, we're gonna die!
Let me think, motherfucker.
Oh, shit.
Stop them. They're getting away.
To be honest, this whole theory sounds pretty out there. You really shouldn't have called me, Neil. You don't understand. He's collapsing the goddamn multiverse.
I'm not going back, Neil!
Send in the fucking drones.
So it was all a big fat lie!
I thought I told you to shut him down. It's not what you think.
Ouch. Not the Nutella. I'm allergic.
Oh, the very end! Get that again.
Ouch. Not the Nutella. I'm allergic.
Oh my god! Holy shit! This is... I was watching this yesterday and my brain was just going nuclear. I was chimping out. It's such, the premise is masterful. Just masterful. Sam Bankman-Fried and Neil deGrasse Tyson as like the conspiracy theorists who are, there's some sort of secret in the Matrix, cast as like a Christopher Nolan movie or something. Just, yes, right-wing art. This is right-wing art. Then you have Stephen Hawking come out as like the ultimate villain, mashing together all these different tropes from the movie. Like this is not just some sort of throwaway bit of entertainment. I think this is genuinely starting to fork off the types of things that constitute whatever the thing is that movies have filled, whatever that thing is that the gap that movies have filled. I think this is genuinely going into a different direction. It doesn't quite work the same to watch it as a movie that is like a feature-length film that has this perfect narrative structure and everything, but it's like really, it's entertaining, it's compelling, it's funny, but it also can really get your noggin jogging. Like this is a way, the way you set the premise up can be really good for actually delivering ideas to people, communicating things to them that make them stop and go, And it's not bound necessarily. People are a lot more willing to see something that's totally absurd. So you're not as constrained by things like laws of physics or the precise structure of plot devices. People are going to become more tolerant of plot holes, I think. you know, like I could sit and watch, if you put together a 10 to 20 minute thing like that, it would need to have some ebbs and flows. So it's not just like full bore the entire time, but it could maintain the structure of a trailer, but you could drag it out a little bit more, kind of like, not entirely, but in the direction of like the Will Stancil show. Like the lengths of those episodes, you could do this, and this is a totally new storytelling vector using film that would really only emerge, I think, because of the internet as a precursor for AI and the schizification of the modern brain. Emperor Atreides says you should do a schizo stream watching Kung Fury. Kung Fury. What is Kung Fury? Swedish martial arts comedy featurette film. Ooh. I've never heard of it. 31 minutes. Okay, I've made a note of that. That would be fun. Okay, let us keep this going. Oh, on the subject of AI. Oh, almost missed it.
As you can tell, he is the reason I was radicalized. I have a personal reason to get them all out of here. The guy is clearly a psycho as a gay boy LARPer, and I will end his, career. Yes, his career in Minecraft. Nee Indians. Hashtag eat jug meat. Anyway, did you see that they recast Harry Gordon as a white guy? Well, Irish. But close enough.
Irish is close enough, yeah. I did see something about some new Lord of the Rings thing coming out, but now I'm so deep into this world that I can't differentiate what's an actual release of an actual thing and what is like what we just watched. So I was like, oh, a new Lord of the Rings thing. Okay, I guess I'll see if that's a real thing or not. And also, Emperor Atreides gifted a sub to Echo 4 Victor. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Speaking of AI, Lomez here said something that this is going to be controversial, but I think he is right. He says, maybe the most important emerging political divide in politics is that Dems are positioning themselves as principled Luddites in opposition to AI. Huge win for the right if the right can avoid collapsing into apocalyptic hysterics over these new tools. Like generational dominance kind of win. And this is from an Axios article. It says, GOP campaigns go all in on AI, Dems not so much. Republicans are betting big on AI to defend their imperiled congressional majorities in the midterms, and not just to make cartoonish images of their opponents on TV and social media. GOP strategists are using AI to quickly simulate voters' attitudes towards events such as the Iran war, and to scan millions of social media sites for up-to-the-second trends in public opinion. On the horizon, AI agents interacted with voters by phone to try to persuade them to vote for GOP candidates, one Republican operative tells us. Yeah, I would not recommend that. If I could just tell you that, guys, do not pursue that strategy. I mean, just don't do that. That's a very, very bad strategy. But the other stuff, like using AI to quickly simulate voters' attitudes, scanning social media sites for up to the second trends in public opinion, yeah, great. By contrast, Democratic operatives, many wary of privacy risks and worried what AI could mean for their jobs, have been much slower to adopt the technology in their campaigns. The party, with few exceptions, hasn't been using AI in ads. The Democratic National Committee has barred staffers from using ChatGPT and Claude, though it does allow them to use Gemini to code, analyze data, and do other tasks. Isn't that funny? No ChatGPT, no Claude, so no OpenAI, no Anthropic, but Google. Google is allowed. Let's see, what did he say here? He says, there are, of course, real and meaningful concerns over AI, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But as a tool for electoral min-maxing and efficient governance, this is the kind of thing the right can use to wipe Dems off the map if the trend actually plays out. And he had a most important emerging political divide in politics. And this ties in with the data centers thing as well. which there's been a great debate that's gone back and forth a few times over the in the King Pill Discord over the past couple weeks about the data centers, and I like this is something that cannot be handled on a political basis with just I'm gonna dig my heels in the sand and accuse you of all sorts of malevolence, cast you as gigantic villains, and refuse to budge, because that's gonna the people who choose that route are going to get bulldozed. They are going to get absolutely trucked, maybe even physically. That is not a strategically viable goal. Because AI does have such major military implications, and because it is a legitimate national security risk, hamstringing a nation that hamstrings itself in AI development is going to be put at a disadvantage compared to others. And I'm not talking because AI is going to become sentient. I'm saying it's an extraordinarily useful tool. And I'm not talking about LLMs. I'm talking about like the military grade stuff. It's extraordinarily useful for becoming agile, quick, efficient, especially once you get into space, trying to move in, navigate around space, manage super complex supply chains or like sophisticated interlinking projects. All these sorts of things is where AI is going to be a massive enhancer that nation states are simply not going to turn down. So those who take the Luddite perspective are going to get bulldozed. Because there are tremendous advantages to be had, and there are tremendous advantages for us to be had with these things. So our posture with it needs to not be this, apocalyptic, I'm going to like throw myself against the castle ramparts and desperately try to stop, Skynet. You're going to have to negotiate these things, recognize their inevitability, and ensure that you get a substantial cut, a substantial hunk of fat out of the whole thing. Use it to redirect stuff to your people in such a way that you can mitigate the downsides of it. This is a coalitional politics thing. There are legitimate concerns about local water use with these data centers, and those need to be clearly addressed. Correct. This is the sort of thing I'm talking about. So the conversation needs to be framed around, yes, we will accept this, but here are the constraints that need to be managed and dealt with. And this is going to happen at, like city council level. So if this is something that is near and dear to your heart, something you're passionate about, then you need to be getting involved. And that is the posture that I would advise that you take. Every county should have at least one data center, period. Yeah. Because if it's done responsibly, then it actually can become a substantial grid enhancer as well, a decentralizer and enhancer. And can actually be make the infrastructure even more robust across a number of different domains. So this is a great place to be at the forefront, getting involved and make it your issue that you're going to resolve this for your local community. There's very good opportunities in that. And one other thing I'll say is that I'm sure part of the reason why there is that gap between the GOP and the DNC is because the DNC's fucking broke and the GOP's not. And this is what money does during, especially midterms campaigns. Congressional races, the side with the money nearly always wins. It's simply like amount of money that can be spent. So even if there's a lot of trends that would be cutting against Republicans in the midterms, that is where having an outsized amount of money to dedicate toward the whole campaigning process can pay bigly, because the Democrats are broke. This guy here, Mean Hash, says, had a fun day today. 2 weeks ago, an Indian, U.S. citizen, IT employee, called ICE on his own department because he'd heard that many of them were here on fake H-1B visas. 25 employees were arrested out of 100-ish. So, a U.S. citizen, Indian, called ICE on his own people in his own department. He was correct. After talking to his leadership, he also informed them that many here legally, but were hired under false pretenses because they'd bought diplomas in India and never really got a degree. At this point, management was worried they'd been defrauded, so they called me up to help them figure it out. We ran all of the remaining employees' hiring paperwork through some AI analytics today. Massive amounts of documents. See, there you go. There's another use case. This included reading copies of diplomas and a ton of other personal documents. Training the AI analytics tool to look for irregularities in past work experience and education history. As an example, 1, check to see if the school exists. 2, check to see if the person who signed the diploma actually worked at the university. 3, check to see if the degree listed is actually taught at that university. 4, etc., etc., etc. We found that of the remaining 75 H-1B employees, 50 of them had provided fake diplomas to either our company directly or the contracting company they were hired through. So out of this one department of 250 people, 100-ish were from India here on visas. 75 of them had defrauded the company during the hiring process, either by providing fake visa paperwork or falsification of education. Basically, 75% lied. Not sure what they're going to do about it yet, as across the IT organization, they have 1,500-ish H-1B visa employees, and they cannot fire 75% of them right now, even if they wanted to. But I do know they are running all current visa employees' records through the tool, any new applicants as well, and will be firing anyone who lied as soon as they get replacements in line for them. From the leadership I was working with, quote, "We have to remove them. We cannot keep employees who defraud the company, even if they are good and cheap." So shout out to this Patel here. And we're not going to call him a Pajit. We'll give him we'll elevate his caste just a little bit. We'll just refer to him as a Patel. He's not one of the like rolling around and shit and like eating cow shit sandwiches and rubbing cow urine on his face. He's not one of those. He's a Patel. He's a motel manager. Now regarding China, another Chinese student has been caught sneaking dangerous pathogens into the U.S., this time at Indiana University. This follows multiple cases at the University of Michigan and dangerous labs in California and Nevada. This sort of thing happens all the time. And this is why it's very hard for me to take seriously the people who just totally write off China as a component, a significant component of what's happening in Iran. They're not even willing to consider or look at that. They just, whenever anything related to China comes up, they have got a few choice phrases that they just default to some sort of, like, above the fold, standard CNN sort of talking point about China. But the Chinese problem is very clearly something that must be addressed, and it must be addressed aggressively. And it's not as simple as just, treating China as an openly hostile, like totally cut off all diplomatic channels and go into open conflict with them is not a solution. Just rounding up and banning Chinese people from the country is not a solution. That amplifies hostilities. What we're trying to avoid is the amplification of hostilities. They do shit to us, we do shit to them. Those things need to be dialed down, but they need to be brought down proportionally. This is the way you resolve a great power conflict without actually going into open warfare. And there's so many domains that this covers because China is such a significant part of the global economy. The United States has key leverage points over China, but China has key leverage points on the United States as well. So this is the whole isolationist thing just does not fly where China's concerned. And this doesn't make me a neocon. I'm not saying we need to do nation building in China. I'm saying that there needs to be a full spectrum line of defense and targeted attack against key Chinese nodes in the midst of negotiations to draw things to a détente of some sort. I'm a neocon, yeah, right. Ronald Dodson said that just adds to the mounting evidence that the way forward is a multipolar system of spheres of influence. Unlimited travel around the world is fun, but probably long-term anomalous. And I don't know that I'd go so far as to say that it's that unlimited travel around the world is long-term anomalous. I think that's going to be kind of hard to go away, but it's going to be more difficult to do it. So I guess you could say that that's a limit that's placed on it. But I think actually there's going to be more of a normalization between those key spheres. And so really it's going to be like, like some parts of the world you're going to be able to travel to freely and other parts you're not, which is kind of how it is right now. It's just the regions are going to shift in their character and their identity a little bit. But this current state of things is totally unsustainable. Cannot be sustained at all. Now, interesting news here. U.S. smartphone imports from China have collapsed from 90% to 25%. The Foxconn China assembly network, once the undisputed backbone of Apple's hardware empire, is seeing its centrality eroded in real time. This is the clearest data point yet of a forced systemic de-risking of the consumer electronics supply chain. In 2022, 90% of U.S. imports from China. And then in 2026, 75% of U.S. imports are from India and Southeast Asia, primarily Vietnam and India. As the new administration maintains pressure, these figures suggest the China Plus One strategy has moved past the planning phase into full-scale execution, as players seek to minimize their China assembly exposure. So you can see U.S. smartphone imports. The blue line is anything but China. The yellow line is China. So it was actually in late 2024 that things actually shifted pretty dramatically. The reality is that this shift has not only happened in mobile. Another area where the shift has been even more extreme is PCs, where almost all the final assembly of U.S. intended PCs has moved to hubs outside China. Let's see, this said there was a certain point here. Oh no, I think that was it. So Trump said, oh, hold on just a second. We got a tip. Brahman Agartha Patel.
The Chinese problem. The solution is getting to the point where you can cut them off and crushing them. Shanghai boos get mad when I say they are worse than Jews. Nation building? Oh, no. No. That is one civilization I would be happy to have end overnight.
Yeah, I have zero interest in having anything to do with China. I recognize that it's just an inevitability, that there are some things that are just geopolitical inevitabilities, but I don't want to have anything to do with China. There is nothing whatsoever that is appealing or interesting or compelling to me about China. Trump said, China is very happy that I am permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz. I am doing it for them also, and the world. See how this has been flipped around? Trump is now working on behalf of China. When Trump forces open the Strait of Hormuz, he's doing it for China. This is the posture now as they enter the final phase of these negotiations, at least ostensibly, as he's going to meet with Xi soon. He's framing this as China is happy that he's opening the Strait of Hormuz. This situation will never happen again. They have agreed not to send weapons to Iran. I don't know if this was reported apart from this, but it's like he's just saying stuff about what's happening, pushing it out there. You're going to have to deal with this now. I put this story out. You and I may have talked about this privately, but because I'm Trump and I just say stuff, they've agreed not to send weapons to Iran. So what does this mean? This means that Trump is been negotiating with China over Iran. They've come to an agreement. They're happy that he's opened the Strait of Hormuz. They've settled on a something that works for both sides. They're not going to send weapons to Iran. It makes Iran look even worse. They're even more isolated. You know, they had all this big, they're backed up by China, and China's giving them all this advanced military equipment, and, they're just impenetrable. And now everything seems to be proceeding as if China has left them. They're completely isolated. Trump's negotiating with them. The facts on the ground could be different than this, but this is the way that events are occurring. The events that are occurring are only tangentially associated with the facts on the ground. President Xi will give me a big fat hug when I get there in a few weeks. We are working together smartly and very well. Doesn't that beat fighting? Wait. You're telling me that the United States and China are working together? No, we're not hostile.
China number 1, enemy. Return my people and let us take care of the problem, Tsar. The Sigvedas are the tales of our Tocharian ancestors and their victories over the Han Menace. We forgot our ways in the Dravidian swamplands. The North shall rise again.
See, we were getting niche Canadian electoral politics storytelling earlier, and now we're getting whatever this is from Brahman Agartha Patel. China number 1 energy. China is asshole. So, there's the whole ARC thing that's out there, the whole ARC meme that I first heard from Tom Luongo. I've seen a number of other people who have usually just said something like China, America, and Russia. But he's the one who specifically said ARC, America, Russia, China. That's been out there for a while, and the mere fact of the matter is that they have been negotiating, obviously. Like, that's why they're setting up for he and Xi to go meet here soon. So this is not... The way that Trump is framing this up is, we're not hostile, we're not enemies. We have our own interests, and we're informing each other where our respective lines are, but we're not enemies. We're working together. We're working together smartly and very well. Not fighting, but then he says, but remember, we are very good at fighting if we have to, far better than anyone else. This is just exquisite. Tremendous. We're working together. Doesn't that beat fighting? But we could fight. Do you want to fight? I don't want to fight. If we did fight, I'd kick your ass, but I don't want to fight. Just, it's so good. Such good public managing of the narrative. I said the man drops so many masterpieces, it's easy to overlook next level gems like this one. It doesn't have President Xi giving me a big fat hug. That's pretty funny. But it doesn't necessarily have a super quotable line in it. But this is tremendous Trumpian negotiating. He's truly the conductor. I was thinking about that's the role that he plays. He is the conductor. What is he doing here? He's coming out and giving the world a report on China. What China has said, how China feels. He's the one that's updating everybody, telling them this is the way that things are. And now everybody is going, whether they agree with it or disagree with it, everyone is going to now orient around the way that Trump said things are. If you're arguing that things are not the way he said they are, you're still working within his frame. He is conducting you. I said the conductor doesn't control everything. He's just the single point of focus for all the players and also a player himself. And Trump is an extraordinarily good conductor. You look at an orchestra, all the players are all focused on the conductor. Now, some of them are focused on the chair of their section, who's focused on the conductor. So there's the conductor by proxy. But they're all focused on the conductor. But the conductor himself is also a part of the orchestra. He's putting on a performance. The way that he embodies the piece and the way that he conducts will affect the way that it's performed. So he is the one performer that all of the other performers are all oriented around. That is Donald Trump. For better or for worse. I think for better. So he was asked why China launched a cyber attack on this. And I wanted to include this on us. I wanted to include this clip because it's relevant to what we're talking about right now. And this is a reminder of why he is different than every other politician of his age.
I wrote because I had heard that China is giving weapons to I mean, you're seeing it all over the place to Iran, that China's
Did he
giving
say he's
weapons.
giving them?
Yeah, and I wrote him a letter asking him not to do that. And he wrote me a letter saying that essentially he's not doing that.
Okay. Well, we just heard from the FBI recently that there was a major cyber attack attributed to China. What response is under consideration for that cyber attack?
We do it to them. They do it to us. We do it to them. You know.
Well, when was the last time we did a cyber attack in China?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you that. But we do them. They do us. It's been like that for a long time.
This is real politics. Just stating it how it is. This is no other politician just talks about these things like this. He's like, oh yeah, they did a cyber attack to us. We do it to them. This is just great power politics. This is what we do. We do cyber attacks on each other. It's a game. We're outdoing each other. We know that they do it. They know that we do it. We can still negotiate. We can still work these sorts of things out. He says the thing that Xi told him was, he's like, no, I'm not giving weapons to Iran, and I'm not going to give weapons to Iran. And Trump's like, okay, I'm going to take your word for it. And now I'm going to tell the entire world that you just told me that. Hey, everybody, by the way, what he told me is this. So Xi could be like, oh, I didn't tell him that. Or, now it puts the ball into Xi's court. Is he going to say, oh, I didn't tell him that? If he is doing it, now that becomes a pretext for escalated hostilities on the United States side. We can sanction you more, or we can, whatever. The negotiations are going to get tougher because now you're lying to Trump. Just constantly building leverage against his opponents.
So it's not going to be addressed?
I'll address things, but, it is what it is. Look, China's China. They're never easy, but we're doing great with China. I'm the toughest person in China anywhere in the world. I put on 100% tariff on Chinese cars. We don't have a Chinese car in the whole country. I wrote because
his body language and all of this is very interesting. And if you're operating from the perspective that they've had negotiations basically sewn up for a while. They've been back channeling for a long time. And a lot of the public posturing is just that. I'm not saying like, that they are like, oh, like secret patriots and they've got, no, they have common enemies. And they've been collaborating together on a diplomatic basis to resolve those things. They've had several different meetings. They've had proxies that have gone and talked to each other. And they're similar to what Trump is doing with Putin. They're not allies, but they're not enemies. And so he's like, yeah, they're doing stuff because like these are massive, sprawling organizations of people that all sort of run sometimes autonomously, semi-autonomously, just like our intelligence services kind of do their own thing. These are massive, sprawling things. So he's like, no, I'm not trying to have some sort of a diplomatic row with China over this. Yeah, we do cyber attacks on each other. Like I think if you have the perspective that Venezuela and Iran both happened because China knew that they were coming and was willing to accept them happening, then his posture toward China now, where he's like blustering, he's like talking big, like no one's harder on China than I am. But he's also like, no, I don't need to punish them. I don't need to, like, yeah, we just do this stuff to each other because this is how one mob boss relates to another mob boss. What, you're telling me that mob bosses are beefing? Yeah, that's what we do. But that doesn't mean that we're enemies. That doesn't mean we need to do like a tit for tat thing. Ozarker Pleb says USA and China friends with benefits. Sort of, yeah. I just had to include this clip in here because there's a number of points from it. This is Trump from 2015. This is pre-president Trump. Let me speed this up just a bit. Okay, it is.
Referring to John McCain, a war hero, 5.5 years as a POW, and you call him a dummy. Is that appropriate in running for president?
Okay, you got to let me speak, though, Frank, because you interrupt all the time, okay? So, no, I know him too well. That's the problem. Let's take John McCain. I'm in Phoenix. We have a meeting that is going to have 500 people at the Biltmore Hotel. We get a call from the hotel. It's turmoil. Thousands and thousands of people are showing up. 3-4 days before, they're pitching tents on the hotel grass. The hotel says, we can't handle it. It's going to...
I pitch a tent every time I show up to see my president, too. Remember how I realized the other day, and I shared the clip, that when Trump said, if you fuck around with us, we're going to do things to you that have never been done before. And that was actually, he was specifically talking about Iran when he said that. There's another famous clip that you've heard that he says here in this 3-minute video. 17 seconds. What do they mean by that? There's a particular clip you've heard before regarding John McCain, but the actual substance of what he was talking about has sort of been lost until we're bringing it back up now. What was he actually talking about when he dropped this line about John McCain? He's talking about how he had his people who were coming out to see him, and something happened.
Get a call from the hotel. It's turmoil. Thousands and thousands of people are showing up. 3-4 days before, they're pitching tents on the hotel grass. The hotel says, we can't handle it. It's going to destroy the hotel. We move it to the convention center. We have 15,000 people. The biggest one ever. Bigger than Bernie Sanders, bigger than 15,000 people showed up to hear me speak. Bigger than anybody. And everybody knows it.
Everybody
knows it. A beautiful day with incredible people that were wonderful, great Americans, I will tell you. John McCain goes, oh boy, Trump makes my life difficult. He had 15,000 crazies show up. Crazies. He called them all crazy. I said, they weren't crazy. They were great Americans. These people, if you would have seen these people, I know what crazy is. I know all about crazies. These weren't crazy. So he insulted me, and he insulted everybody in that room. And I said,
my president was angry at John McCain for insulting his patriots. He's like, these aren't crazy. I know crazy. The people who came out to see me, they're patriots. Who the fuck do you think you are to insult my patriots?
Somebody should run against John McCain, who has been, in my opinion, not so hot. And I supported him. I supported him for president. I raised $1 million for him. It's a lot of money. I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers.
I supported him for president. He lost. Let us down. He's a loser. Not going to support him again.
But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people. So what I said...
Just, this was peak Trump. This was maximal power levels in a certain sense. He's older now, but I would say even like he was wise then. There was a lot of wisdom that he brought to bear at that point. Given his background, how he grew up, working in and around government and land development and real estate and all this stuff and construction and shipping and the whole business that he worked in required him to be successful in the industry that he was in, required him to be an exceptionally talented, smart, clever, experienced person. So he was wise here. He's 10 years older now. He's 80. And he doesn't have the same energy level present like that he did then. But he's still extremely energetic for a man his age. And if anything, the last 10 years have made him wiser still. But the thing that's got him fucking chapped here to the point where he would say one of the most memorable things he ever did. Yeah, he's a war hero because he got captured. I like the ones who didn't get captured. He's a loser. Having the balls in 2015 to say John McCain is a loser because he got captured after the way that John McCain had been valorized forever. I remember that campaign. It was nauseating. It felt so fucking good to hear Donald Trump say, John McCain's a loser. He got caught. I like the ones who don't get caught. And then ever since I've learned so much more about McCain, even than I knew then, never has a man deserved it more. But the thing that's got him all pissed off about it, to the point where he's willing to say that, is that John McCain talked shit about his people. My president doesn't like it when you talk shit about his people.
Is John McCain, I disagree with him that these people aren't crazy. And, very importantly, and I speak the truth, he graduated last in his class at Annapolis. So I said, nobody knows that. I said he graduated last or second to last. He graduated last in his class at Annapolis. And he was upset. I said, why, for telling the truth? See, you're not supposed to say that somebody graduated last or second to last in their class. You're
Why, for telling the truth?
supposed to be like Frank says, very nice. Folks, I want to make America great again. We want to get down to brass tacks. We don't want to listen to his stuff with being politically correct and everything has... We have a lot of work to do. Frank, the other day, Hillary Clinton got up and she said, I didn't like Mr. Trump's tone. We have people, Christians, having their heads cut off in the Middle East. We have people dying all over the border, where I was right, 100% right. We have all of this, like medieval times, and she said, I didn't like his tone. And you know who else said that? Jeb Bush. I didn't like his tone. What does it have to do with tone? We want results. This group wants results. We don't want tone.
They hated him for he spoke the truth. So true, Slutty Milk. We want results. We don't want tone. Who cares about tone? Low energy Jeb. That is our president.
The only acceptable political theory is complete undying loyalty to Donald Trump.
And I couldn't not follow that one up with this one. Look at his frickin' face. Look at our great and glorious Giga-Jew. And listen to this line.
Never listen to a panickin. 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 Never listen to a panickin, Jesse. You will do very well in life. Ignore the panicins, right? They were the ones who warned of calamity in Venezuela and ended up being one of the greatest single foreign policy, military, geopolitical maneuvers in world history.
So true!
What we're watching now in Iran with the implementation of this blockade is the total resetting of the American power dynamic for the next 100 years. President Trump is saying, we, the United States, have the world's not just most powerful military, most powerful navy. And whoever controls the seas is able to control the outcomes in any foreign policy showdown. And so President Trump has put Iran in a box. He's played the checkmate move. And so now, no matter what path Iran chooses, America wins. If Iran chooses the path of a deal, then that's great for the world. That's great for everybody. If Iran chooses the path of economic strangulation by blockade, then the world will pass Iran by. New energy routes will be established. New supply chains will be established. Other nations throughout the region, throughout the world, and especially America, will power the world, and Iran will become a footnote. So that's the choice Iran has, and President Trump has put America into a win-win posture.
That might be, how long was that? 1 minute and 25 seconds. That might be the single best distillation since this whole thing has begun that anyone has provided. And Stephen Miller hasn't weighed in on the Iran war all that much. He's been single-mindedly focused on his passion. But that, oh yeah, that's going on the soundboard, for sure. For sure.
You know, they accuse the president of having no strategy. He's just kind of flying by the seat of his pants. You look at Venezuela.
His laugh.
You look at drill, baby, drill. You look what's happening with Iran and the Strait, and now China, Indonesia, the deals we've cut with the Japanese and the South Koreans. It does look like there's a strategy to counter the Chinese and make America energy dominant.
You think?
Why don't they accept that? If I can see it, well, they should be able to see it too.
Because it's a total...
If fucking Jesse Waters could see it. Me, big fucking retard.
What are you, retarded? So I know you're not retarded. But what are you, Down syndrome?
We love Jesse Waters.
They can see it. Well, they should be able to see it too.
Because it's a total discrediting, Jesse, of the corrupt politicians and corrupt systems that brought America to its knees. Our wealth, our treasure, our power has been bled from us for 50 years. We won World War II, and then we decided that we were going to get rid of the Department of War, we were going to get the Department of Defense, and we were going to have a politically correct foreign policy. And we sent away our jobs, we sent away our wealth, we sent away our industry, and we gave other countries a chance to compete against us. President Trump has used trade policy, energy policy, manufacturing policy, and yes, hard military power to ensure another century of American dominance. And what's important for your viewers to understand is our quality of life that we have in America is purchased by American strength. The reason why our GDP per capita blows every other nation out of the water is because of American strength. That's why we're able to enjoy the life that we enjoy, but it was threatened as never before until President Trump said, we are going to be a proud, powerful, mighty nation again. And that's what you're seeing right now play out in the Middle East, Jesse.
You can tell from the comment about why our GDP per capita blows every other nation out of the water. You can tell he's been following the conversation on Twitter, because the thing that's been discussed the last couple of days is how the citizens of the UK were polled on like where they would rank among American states in terms of GDP per capita, and they on average said 7th, and they would be 51st. Mississippi, this is what everyone was laughing at them because Mississippi has a higher GDP per capita than the UK, which I happen to have a deep appreciation for Mississippi. I mean, there's very good reasons why Mississippi is an awesome state, but that's like Mississippi does not have a reputation, even if it's not entirely earned. They do not have a reputation for being a wealthy, prosperous state. And the frickin' UK would be looking up at them. The memes from it have been just glorious. But we got to hear this one more time.
Never listen to a panickin. 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 Jesse.
You need to listen to this every single morning on repeat. 1 minute. 1 minute a day.
Never listen to a panickin. 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 Jesse, you will do very well in life. Ignore the panicins.
Oh, so true. So frickin' true, Stephen Miller. And he had another good one here. Watch him catch himself. This is from Aaron Rupar. Aaron Rupar picked up on it. Watch him catch himself here.
And this embargo and every other option is on the table as President Trump seeks that final, safe, secure outcome for the people of the world. Final embargo and every other option is on the table as President Trump seeks that final, safe, secure outcome for the people of the world.
He almost said it. Oh, look at my favorite Jew. Aaron Rupar says, Stephen Miller almost says that Trump is seeking a final solution in Iran, then catches himself. Oh, it's so good. All right, let's get a little geopolitical finance nerding here for just a moment on this subject. From 10 Delta. The dollar will no longer require foreign central banks choosing to hold U.S. treasuries in order to maintain its hegemony. This has been why the United States runs this trade deficit that it does. Because all the other countries in the world all hold U.S. treasuries on their balance sheet. This is like the pristine collateral. This is part of the dollar reserve system. But it's become a tail wagging the dog system through the whole euro-dollar market and all the rehypothecated derivatives stacking on top of that. So there's been a mutual death compact that we are going to be steadily hollowed out and indebted to you, but your entire financial system is going to be built on us. So then if one of us dies, we all die. And there are certain people who've got a hold of the tiller and they want everyone to die. So now it's time for us to get out of this suicide pact. But how do you unwind it without breaking it and causing us all to die? Rather, dollar hegemony will now be built on the self-interest of millions of individuals choosing to hold stablecoins. This will create a structural demand for U.S. sovereign debt that no single government can disrupt by selling its reserves. So now, instead of a government or a central bank holding being the institutions that hold U.S. debt, it's going to get dispersed, diffused, decentralized among the individual citizens of the population. Because they're going to have the opportunity, if they have access to the internet, then they can buy into the American system directly. They don't need to go like currency swaps funneled through their central bank, the debt monetized out, trickling down through business loans and whatever else. No, they can get direct access to the US dollar system. And as long as they have an internet connection and a smartphone, they don't need to use their local currencies. That might be like currency values swinging wildly, they're depressed, they're whatever. They can choose to get paid in stablecoins. They can choose to transact in US dollar stablecoins. So, which is a structural demand for U.S. sovereign debt that no single government can disrupt. So you can't have governments that collaborate together and decide to mass dump U.S. debt. That takes this, what's the term? The sword dangling over your head. The word just escaped my mind. Decentralized and atomized global demand will lead to hyper-dollarization. Step 1, Damocles, sword of Damocles, that's what I was trying to think of. Step 1, retail users globally adopt dollar stablecoins because they're superior to local currencies as savings and payment instruments. Step 2, their adoption drains FX reserves from foreign countries, weakening local currencies, which drives further adoption. So the more that the local retail users dump the local currencies for the dollar, the weaker those currencies get, which further incentivizes people to go access the dollar system. Step 3, the T-bills backing those stablecoins create captive demand for U.S. sovereign debt, compressing yields and reducing the deficit's carrying costs. 3, 3, and 3 achieved. Step 4, trade settlement migrates from correspondent banking to stablecoin rails, short-circuiting the euro-dollar credit multiplier and replacing it with a system where collateral never leaves U.S. jurisdiction. See the significance of that. So there continues to be U.S. sovereign debt, but the collateral for it stays here. Step 5, the on-chain nature of transactions gives the U.S. real-time visibility into global capital flows and programmable sanctions enforcement at the stablecoin level. Remember I was talking about why AI is going to be such a significant national security asset or a potential liability? Here you could see why that would be relevant. And this is like, once this technology exists out there, someone is going to start employing it. The game theory is different depending on the player, but eventually someone's going to start using it. And the nature of the system being this mass suicide pact, the United States can't just let that happen while also continuing to be the United States. This is why the people who are like, no AI data centers, block AI, delete AI, the people who lean into Ludditism are not actually prepared for what the world would look like that they would be descended into if the United States chose to operate that way. Step 6 is bilateral trade deals channel the resulting capital flows into specific U.S. sectors, i.e. fabs, defense, energy, shipbuilding, etc., thus completing the re-industrialization loop. So a country that chooses to, there's lots of people in the replies who are saying stuff like, oh, it's going to stop countries from blocking their users from buying U.S. stablecoins, revealing they don't know what a stablecoin is. For countries to block their users from accessing stablecoins, they would have to turn off the internet in their country. And it also just so happens that there's a fellow who's rather influential within the United States and within the present government of the United States, who is in the course of building an entire network of satellites designed to give internet access to every single corner of the globe, no matter how remote you are. So then the United States then will sign bilateral trade deals directly with specific countries. And part of those deals is going to be, if you want the terms that you want from us, what we're going to require is you acquiescing to this, you accepting the state of this system and restructuring your governments accordingly. You're not going to be able to block your or put hurdles in the way of your citizens accessing these US dollar stablecoins. And then you're going to buy into the system by investing where we want you to invest. Just as energy corridor control will force bilateral realignment on the world of atoms, the physical layer, So the United States right now, you got the Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Malacca, Panama Canal, a number of other secondary straits, the Arctic pathways, Greenland. Right now, the United States, under Donald Trump, are securing all of these different energy corridors, which is going to force bilateral realignment. So not these big multinational organizations. No, bilateral realignment. We're going to sign individual deals with every nation, and we're going to manage those deals accordingly using AI tools. So just as the energy corridor control is going to force that bilateral realignment on the physical layer, the world of atoms, stablecoin architecture will force bilateral realignment on the world of bits, on the financial layer. Both will make the cost of being outside the American system higher than the cost of being inside it. That is it in a sentence. Making the cost of being outside the American system higher than the cost of being inside it. Countries will be perfectly welcome to go outside the American system. You just got to realize that there's a cost to being outside the system. And you got to decide whether or not you're willing to bear that cost. Energy dominance and financial dominance, enabling the U.S. to craft the alliances of Pax Americana 2.0. This is the plumbing that is going to form the backbone of the emergent American empire. And Santiago Capital here, this is Brent Johnson, the dollar milkshake theory guy. He said it will be foreign sovereigns seeking to de-dollarize while their citizens seek to dollarize. Place your bets. Imagine that world here, where foreign sovereigns are trying to get out of the dollar system, but their citizens are trying to get into it. And they're going to have the U.S. government who's more than happy to facilitate their citizens trying to get into it. The foreign sovereigns trying to de-dollarize are going, de-dollarization is going to be a punishment. What was this down here? The cost of being outside the American system is higher than the cost of being inside it. That's the goal. Within that frame, then, being outside the American system is a punishment. We are imposing a cost upon you. So foreign sovereigns will be trying to commit suicide by de-dollarizing, but it's like the sand as the wave starts heading back out to sea, the sand pulls right out from underneath your feet. The individual citizens who are increasingly going to have access to the internet, they're the ones who are going to dollarize. There's a good thought here. This guy, Fabian Wintersberger, said, I agree that this is the plan, but I'm not sure it will work out as intended. There can be interference with USD stablecoin usage, or there can be simple preparation to hold something else because of US bullying. Not saying one should bet on something else. I'm saying a lot of things can go wrong. And I agree so far the evidence strongly suggests the plan is working. That said, a weaponization of the dollar can still be expected. And Brent Johnson said, the citizens of the world have shown that they do not prefer to hold something else. This guy says, what if the dollar also starts to lose value faster? Likely, albeit possibly less so than other fiats. There you go. There's the key. If the dollar, given the nature of the system, if the dollar starts to lose value faster, other fiats will lose value even faster. This is the premise of the dollar milkshake theory. He says, what if you just answered your own question? Now, there's one big thing that's still standing in the way of this, and that is that the stablecoin market is still relatively small compared to the total addressable market. And those funds can't move too quickly without it being too disruptive. So it's going to take time for this whole thing to roll out. I think the Clarity Act still has yet to pass. But I have to shamelessly talk to you guys about River here. I just have a link from River. So I'm going to give you guys a link that you can sign up if you want to, because now is a good time, I think, to sign up for River. I don't have a special relationship with them. This isn't like a paid ad, but I do have a link that I can share because I use River. And if you sign up and you buy some Bitcoin when you sign up, then I get paid as well. Bitcoiners have waited years to ditch their bank. Now you finally can. So there's a little video here, and I'll read something about it. I've very much enjoyed using River. That's why I'm doing this, because I like River. It's what I use to do my my dollar cost average purchase of Bitcoin. Banking should grow your wealth. Banking that earns 3.3%. What did they mean by this? 3.3%? Banking that earns 3.3% on cash paid in Bitcoin. So you don't have to buy Bitcoin with it. You can just use River as your bank. That's where I put a bunch of our cash in there. It's just like a savings account essentially, but it earns 3.3% and it gets paid out in the form of Bitcoin. Now you can auto-invest your paycheck in Bitcoin with zero fees. You can pay bills using cash or Bitcoin, also with zero fees. And it's fully FDIC insured and everything. So banking with Bitcoin on River, earn 3.3% on cash paid in Bitcoin. You can get paid in Bitcoin with zero fees. You can pay bills with zero fees, so they have an automatic bill pay. And you can use cash or Bitcoin for that. And of course, you can buy Bitcoin. They've got a number of different ways of automating your purchases of Bitcoin. They have like a power-up thing where when the price goes down, you can set it to automatically buy more on a certain scale that you tell it to. So it's a financial services company, not a bank. USD funds are deposited by Lead Bank, member FDIC. So they are, you deposit your cash with them. That cash goes to this other bank. The interest that's earned on it, they use to buy Bitcoin and then pay it out to you. So the link, if you want to download River and use it yourself, then btc.kingpill.com. They don't have cards yet. Down in the replies here, they answered some questions, and one of them was about cards. I think they just said that they're exploring it with the team, a card for paying for stuff. It's basically just like a bank account for transferring money between accounts, like transferring cash. So I can live on Bitcoin and use bill pay and not get hammered with conversion fees every time I use Bitcoin to pay a bill. And then how can you offer 3.3% in Bitcoin? The interest is earned on cash by our partner bank, and then we convert it to Bitcoin and pay it out to clients. I think they said that they've paid out something like 80 plus Bitcoins already. This has been a thing that's been like I've been using River for a couple of years now, and it's something that they rolled out in beta for us for a little while, and now it's just now been launched. So if you go to btc.kingpill.com, then I don't remember what the deal is. It's not great, but it's a little something, and I wanted to get this on your guys' radar in case River is something that would work for you. Well, now the link doesn't seem to be working. I hope it does. Let me know if it's working for you guys. I tested it a couple of times before, and I opened it just before I started reading about this to make sure it was still working, and it was. But now it says that it's not. It's just loading. I'm sure it'll start working eventually. It's something like the first $100 that you put in, gives me $10, and then you get another $80 if you do $1,000 and something along those lines. So yeah, btc.kingpill.com should redirect you to my promo link with River. I've never talked to him. I haven't contacted him at all. I just use it and enjoy it. And I was like, I'm going to share my special link and see if anybody else wants to sign up for it. Okay, I got a couple of threads here from our great boomer, Larry Schweikert. He says, folks, reviewing the sweep of history, and I admit I'm no expert in Chinese history, but I can't find anyone in all of history who has, for the most part, peacefully so completely encircled and cut off an enemy state as Trump has done with China. It's historical. It's mind-blowing. Reagan came close with how he isolated and bankrupted the evil commie Soviets. Tricky because they still had allies such as China. But this is a Zulu-style bull-buffalo encirclement. First, he neutralized Venezuela, number 1 in the world in oil reserves. No one talks about offshore Latin American oil, which is massive, but we have that too. When you combine Venezuela and US oil, which is the largest producer in the world, you've already squeezed China. It's been widely reported that China got 50% of its oil from Iran, 30% through Hormuz. That's been all but closed off. We let through a couple of Chicom-bound ships the other day so as to prevent a war, but that's a drop in the bucket. While the hoax news was fitfully fretting about Trump actually winning in Iran, which even the New York Slimes had to admit, we love our boomers, they were completely missing that he had already broken the huddle and had run another play while they watched the Iran replay. Over the weekend, Trump's State Department team was in Jakarta solidifying a new deal with Indonesia, which has its own oil. More important, Indonesia mostly controls the Strait of Malacca, which is absolutely key for the Chicoms. Isn't that interesting that the president, who apparently is insufficiently deferential and respectful to Muslims, is going around signing trade deals, or signing not just trade, but defense deals with a bunch of Muslim countries? How's that work? It's almost like the Black Knight Monty Python. Trump has now lopped off both arms. Well, there's one more route I guess they could take, extremely long. That would be north through the Arctic and coming down by way of Greenland. China now is like a baby goat being surrounded by a boa constrictor. Xi is purging people right and left, but I got news for you, Skittle Dipper. They don't have answers either. So far, this has come with remarkably few casualties in Iran and none on the Iranian mainland itself. They found the one airman, not with a tracker, but with an AI program called Ghost Murmur that tracked his heartbeat. There's nothing in human geopolitical history to even remotely resemble this kind of coup. It's an international version of Napoleon enveloping the Austrians at Ulm. Meanwhile, at home, the voter reg numbers continue to march to the GOP's drum. Nevada now has a whopping 7,000 GOP lead. It was D plus 88,000 in 2020. Oklahoma gained, Idaho gained 5,000 for Republicans, and New Mexico gained a little. In the past weeks, we've had 3 D to R state seat flips. Too early to call, but the results in Virginia for overturning redistricting look solid. In California, Farticus, Eric Swalwell, had to resign not only from the governor's race, but from Congress, as did Texas Republican Henry Gonzalez. The ratios didn't change, but each side lost a guy. All the other indicators are positive, however. 2 of the top 3 candidates in California are Republicans, and they have a jungle primary. It's possible both Republicans could end up as the finalists. Businesses are fleeing New Azteca, LA, with KB Homes now the latest to fly to Tempe, Arizona. You know I don't do polls, but the recent national generic polling is good for Republicans in the House. D's only lead by 2 nationally. They need to lead by 5 to make a real change. Huge but little discussed election here in Arizona as Salt River Project, which controls our water and power, elected a conservative over the Green Spooge Muffin as supervisor. This means attempts to greenify Arizona via shutdowns on new businesses won't fly. Anyone not paying attention is going to miss a planetary reordering this. Planetary reordering. I don't know why I said this. And then another thread from him. Allow me to address and refine a pretty common approach to Trump among MAGA. There's a notion that every move he makes here is predetermined to obscure some other move he is making over there. He is brilliant, but that's not how he set it up. Now, there was a great conversation that I recommend you guys listen to between Ian Burlingame and Colonel Watkins. Ian Burlingame now has his own YouTube channel. That's a conversation that he posted. And it was, I think it was his first episode that he's posted on there. And they talked about the difference between plan and commitment. He was talking about how he sees trust the plan as kind of like a sort of like a conspiracy theory or 5D chess. It's one of these like thought terminating sort of cliches that gets used, spreads like a meme that actually has like negative impacts on people. And he said it's not a plan. There isn't a plan. There's a methodology. There are methodologies, but what really matters is commitment. Is there commitment? Is there commitment to the methodology? Is there commitment to the direction? Like no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Is there a commitment? Do you have sufficient commitment to direct toward the cause, whatever it is? And this is what when people have talked about like trust the man or be the plan or some of these sorts of things. And I think there's validity to all of those. And I think the fact that people have kind of have played around with that is evidence that people sort of sense this a little bit. Like trust the plan is a meme and it works and it's fun. And people, I think those of good spirit understand what it means. When you say trust the plan, obviously it doesn't mean it's not like full blown, there's like military tribunals coming and the whole thing is a stage managed thing and the Patriots are lurking in the background putting on this performance for us. There can be elements to that in certain small ways, but it's that there's clearly a methodology that is emerging, and there's clearly substantial influence and money and interests behind that. And the real question is going to be, to what extent is there sufficient commitment to that direction to begin tilting the field, to tilt the field past the tipping point? I think in many ways we're already past the tipping point, but it's not predetermined where the ball is going to roll. The ball is going to roll. It's going to roll downhill. It's going to change where it is. Things are going to change. And some things are going to change for the better. Some things are going to change for the worse. But on net, are things going to improve for our guys? And that's a question of commitment. It's a question of buy-in. So Larry says, when we were in Hollywood looking to sell our film, I met numerous successful directors. One of the things they explained was that anyone who sees success in Hollywood has multiple projects all going at once, rolling rocks up a hill. They expected that some rocks would get stuck, some would roll back down, but that sooner or later they'd get rocks over the top and the projects would roll. That's the way to view Trump's policies now for over a year. In 2017, he fired up the rock rolling machines. There were immigration rollers, DEI rollers, tariff rollers, a whole set of international, Panama, Venezuela, Iran, Europe, international rollers. There were election law rollers. Dozens of programs and rollers moving the agenda up the hill. Judges temporarily halted some, which have almost all started rolling again. Congress dropped the ball on some, so the White House found a new roller and started again, and so on. They did not all roll upward at the same speed or pace, but here's the point. All these programs weren't connected in a massive jujitsu move. Rather, they were cores of a massive army on offense. But instead of stopping to rescue a stalled army group, the rollers kept a-rockin'. Each policy army group found its own solutions, preventing the overall agenda from being derailed by any single weak point. But, taken together, all of the policies reinforce each other. More energy makes foreign policy easier. A rightward red Latin America allows the administration to leverage other areas. The tariffs relieve the tax burden on citizens. The foreign policy strengths allowed the administration to require the Saudis to pay for the war they want, and so on. At various points, the immigration, deportation, ICE roller was stalled or got bad publicity. Grease the wheels, overrule the judges, and off we go. But this simultaneously helped fix the election integrity roller, and I think even in the midterms, that impact will appear. Like all of the fact that it got stalled or got bad publicity actually amplified the cause all the more, which contributed to publicity and positive momentum on the election integrity front. The end to late vote-by-mail roller will also affect election integrity severely. Then, totally separately, Judicial Watch has carried out a flanking campaign to force voter roll purges in all states. California and Colorado are just the most recent. That has resulted in millions nationally being removed from rolls. Oops. Between Juan being deported and Aunt Edna, who has been dead 10 years, being removed from the rolls, the Democrats hemorrhaged voters. And that didn't even take into account people leaving the Democrat Party because it's the party of death and terror. But to repeat, all of these rollers were moving independently. Bobby Kennedy commands a core. Scott Bessent commands a core. They're all advancing without top-down coordination because they all agree on the objective and they all agree on the general principles. What a concept. One of our great boomer posters. Now, this we're going to get some Scott Bessent clips here in just a moment, but first of all, we got to have another bit of lore from my president. Dr. Oz.
office. He'll pepper. Bobby and I usually go to the meetings together. So he'll first start off with candy bars, that little candy jar he'll call it. He'll hit the red button.
Yeah.
And then comes the diet soda pops, which is your dad argues that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. It's poured on grass, so therefore it must kill cancer cells inside the body. So he'll try to, please. I'm not even going to argue this right now. We were on Air Force One the other day, and I walk in there because he wants to talk about something, and he's got an orange soft drink on his desk.
Fanta. He drinks Fanta.
That's what I didn't want to say the brand name on the podcast. He's got Fanta on the desk, and I say, "Are you kidding me?" So he starts to sheepishly grin. He goes, "This stuff's good for me. It kills cancer cells." And then he tells me it's fresh squeezed. So how bad could it be for you?
Okay, but then maybe he's onto something because I will say this: I know a lot of guys pushing 80.
Office, he'll
fresh squeezed Fanta. See, he's old. He's not as vivacious when he's out on the stage, but the man is still smart as a whip. Fresh squeezed Fanta. Josh Rayner, Patriot spotted. He says since Diet Coke uses aspartame, which contains phenylalanine, and phenylalanine competes with tryptophan in the brain, which lowers serotonin, and serotonin drives glycolysis, which fuels cancer, Diet Coke could theoretically fight cancer. That's all I needed to hear. Look at him. Look at Josh Rayner. You going to doubt something that he says regarding health? This is like when Trump said, what did he say about how communism has been around for thousands of years? One of those things where you hear him and you're kind of like, oh, silly Trump. And then you're like, wait a second. This is so true, Mr. President. That's actually really true. In a deeper sense, he just has these intuitive understandings about the world. That's how this works. He just intuitively knows that Diet Coke actually fights cancer. So then, of course, the Wall Street Journal had to urgently fact check, get a fact check on the record here.
His own diet. He said that he argued that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass, and if you pour it onto the grass, the grass is killed, and it therefore must kill cancer cells. I'm wondering if was this sort of an accurate description of how the president sees?
Look, as we all know in this room, I think the president has a very good sense of humor. It's one of his most underreported characteristics, I would say. I have heard him tell this joke before. I think the Wall Street Journal should get a better sense of humor.
And then another one for you.
Mogged. Yeah, good cold Diet Coke from McDonald's is hard to beat. So true, mama. Strip Buster says, fuck it, getting a Diet Coke today. You need to go buy a Diet Coke today to support your president. Support your president. Fight cancer. It's for a good cause. Josh Rayner is a mega Chad. Totally, for sure. Donald Trump cured cancer. Yeah. They don't like me, but I'll keep drinking that garbage. Okay, so Scott Bessent here talking about one of the new developments in the Iranian situation.
Yeah, I think that's not a correct characterization. Yesterday, we announced Operation Economic Fury, and we, for over a year, we have had maximum pressure on the Iranians, both on blocking payments into the Iranian state and going after the accounts of the IRGC. One of what may prove to be fatal mistakes that the Iranians made was bombing their GCC neighbors, and who are now willing to be much more transparent in terms of the funds or do a deeper dive in investigating the funds that are held within their banking systems. So we have pushed out to them the request that we want to freeze more funds of the leadership of the IRGC and any members of Iranian leadership. The other thing that we have done is we have told countries that if you are buying Iranian oil, that if Iranian money is sitting in your banks, we are now willing to apply secondary sanctions, which is a very stern measure, and the Iranians should know that this is going to be the financial equivalent of what we saw in the kinetic activities.
The financial equivalent of what we saw in the kinetic activities. my Aristofag here is well known for his enjoyment of kinetic activities. We'll just say that he a new story has broken. Rumors are swirling that Scott Bessent got into a physical fistfight with Kevin Hassett this morning over economic policy disagreements. Yet another one. And Bully Esquire says, I love that we have a snarky gay Treasury Secretary who lives in this pink house and who frequently just beats the shit out of people he doesn't like in the executive wing. I don't think we can doubt what position he is. So true, Straight Buster. Now, what's interesting about what he was saying about the GCC countries and their reaction to Iran striking them is now being fully transparent about opening up their financial records and shining a light on how all of the Iranian oil money gets laundered through the Gulf banks. This right here has much less to do with Iran directly. This is a direct attack on the City of London's financial scheming. Because the Iranian shadow fleet served as the collateral base for a massive amount of derivative rehypothecation, whether it was from the oil itself or from bills of lading or other of the financial documents that are being swapped and traded, and the whole black market of oil. Because Iran's oil has been sanctioned. Those sanctions were actually a way to get this, spin up this whole shadow network of the derivative market that has formed a massive part of what would be the offshore dollar world. And this is where I again get like, man, it would really fit together really cleanly if this was aspects of the Iranian leadership class who are like, we are happy to facilitate an integration of Iran into the new system if it means we're enriched personally and we get to take out some of our domestic enemies. And they're burning that entire network. This ties directly back into the whole City of London global organized crime apparatus and the entire Euro-dollar market that has been the tail wagging the dog with respect to United States financial sovereignty. So if this was all like this whole thing is scripted out very nicely, isn't it? Iran gets hit and just kind of like spazzes out and just starts bombing everyone around them. It just so happens that some of the things they hit were like, like Zelensky's condo in Dubai or wherever it was. Just happens to get booped by a drone. Iran's just sort of spasmodically launching these attacks on all their neighbors. Just happens to burn a bunch of these different locations. Oh, and then it also becomes the pretext for those Gulf countries who are very angry at Iran. Oh, how dare you? We're now extremely upset. Here, America. Here's all the financial books so you can sanction Iranian oil. I'm not saying that the whole thing has been orchestrated and kayfabed and scripted out and just performed for us. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that if that was the case, it seems like it would look kind of like what's happening right now. There was another point that he made here on a similar note regarding gas prices here domestically.
With a 3 in front of it sooner rather than later. With a 3 in front of it sooner rather than later. It's Bank Week here in DC, so I've been meeting with a lot of my Middle Eastern counterparts, the finance ministers, and they all say that once the straits are open, they can start pumping again within 1 week.
So not by summer, like Memorial Day, but maybe by Labor Day?
Again, I'm optimistic that sometime between June 20th and September 20th that we can have $3 gas again. And as I said this morning too, we are going to be watching the gas stations because they raise prices very quickly when when the crude oil prices went up. we hope they'll bring them down just as quickly as crude oil prices have come down, which they've come down substantially just in the past 10 days.
There's a very interesting admission contained within this, or not an admission, but like an acknowledgement contained within that, which is that the American oil companies didn't have to raise gas prices as much as they did. They raised them very aggressively because they could get away with it. And he's saying, okay, you guys got that one. We knew that this is going to happen, that there are going to be externalities you can't control for every possible thing. You guys got that one. This is your reward. You guys bought in. You're cooperating with what's happening here. You're bought into the transition to the new system. You got your payout. Now, we're letting the world know when oil prices come back down again, as we have engineered, those gas prices better drop as fast as they went up. And this comes out at the same time as a rumor that he's there in the Oval fist fighting with his fellow administration members. So, oil execs, you know what's going to happen to you if you don't play ball the way Secretary Scott Bessent wants you to. He's going to be making a little visit over to your office. You don't want to see that Scott Bessent showing up at your office. Okay. What was this other thing? Oh, this one. Now, a number of people seem to not quite understand what the significance of this was. There was a lot of people who were chimping out at this clip, and then I saw other people who were like, I don't understand. I don't get why people are all wound up about this.
Encourage everyone out there watching today to change their withholding if they haven't already done so. Because if you change your withholding, then you will get an automatic real wage increase on a weekly or a monthly basis, and you will be able to keep more of your money this calendar year. Encourage everyone out there watching.
So, the reason that this is significant is because you have a Treasury Secretary, the guy over the IRS, saying directly, stop lending money to the federal government. Adjust your own withholding so that you keep more of your money instead of giving an interest-free loan to the federal government. Now, the trade-off on something like this would be you keep more of your money now, but you owe more of your money later. And that's a little lowbrow for me for Scott Bessent. I don't think that Scott Bessent is going to go out there and try to cast some. He's not that much of a political animal where he's going to go out and he's going to give this sort of a very high time preference recommendation. Hey, just like adjust your withholding, reflecting the new tax laws, adjust your withholding, keep more of your money now, knowing that people go, oh, okay, I go do that. I adjust my withholding. Mr. Accountant, what does this mean? I go adjust my withholding. A year from now I'm angry because I owe more money because I kept more of it throughout the year. I think that him going out of his way to make this point is a strong signal of something that is to come down the line regarding income tax. Now, some people are saying this means this is going to be the last year that we ever pay income tax. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think that's the case. But this is something that the administration has talked about repeatedly, particularly with regarding the tariff conversation. As the tariff revenues come in, they can turn into dividend payments to people. And so those dividend payments could be themselves a tax credit. There could be new tax credits or something that are issued later on that are only claimable by basically the low end of the bracket. So you're effectively abolishing the income tax without, the one line abolishing the income tax. And I think that's the thing that people were getting real excited about and why they were passing this clip around the way they were. All right, now we're going to talk about the Hungarian election here a little bit and some of the things that I'm concluding from it thus far. However, we got a visitor. Hi, Daddy. Hi, big guy. How are you doing?
Good.
What have you been up to?
Playing my
playing your thing?
I put in the backyard.
What thing did you put in the backyard?
Can you involve some pictures and videos of me playing in it? It's the construction thing I put in the backyard.
Oh, okay. Mommy can show those to me later on. Look what the people are posting. You can see them up there on the screen too.
A bunch of combines.
A bunch of combines. What do you think of that?
Like it?
What are your favorite videos to watch right now?
Gabe's Tanks.
Gabe's Tanks? What are they about?
There's one that's a small ecosystem for chickens, but it's not small.
It's a small ecosystem for chickens, but it's not small?
He lied.
He lied?
The guy who made it lied.
Gabe?
No.
Oh.
I don't know his name.
Oh, is it in a different channel?
Well, it's put in, it's blended together with the other channels, but it isn't part of them.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you like watching putting like shrimp ecosystems and crab ecosystems and like aquariums?
Why is that E funny?
Where?
Like the triangle, the piece of a triangle with a line coming out of the middle?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
The EWBSX?
Oh, on the EWBSX. Oh, that's just a certain way of making an E. It's called a font. It's the same letters, but they're shaped a different way. Mommy says not to eat your boogers on the internet. Don't do it. You're gonna make your mommy unhappy. Don't do that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for coming to see me. I love you, big guy.
Love you too, Daddy.
I'll be done in a little bit, and I'll come down and see you. Okay?
Wait, Mama said that I won't see you until nighttime.
I don't. Maybe we'll see.
Hey, your glasses say Vippo.
Yeah. Please don't touch them. I don't want fingerprints on them. Okay. I love you, big guy. Please close the door.
I'm gonna plunge down the stairs.
Okay, go plunge down the stairs. Beastwood sighting. Please do tip your streamer, folks. Tips.kingpole.com. And a reminder, you've got the $29 tip here if you want to see Eastwood appear on the screen once again. Booger maxing. Leaving, dogs, Costco, etc. Okay. All right. Well, I guess maybe that I won't see you until this evening. All right. So, the Hungarian election. The first thing that I got to lead off with here is that the guy who was elected, his name is Peter Majar. I had to go look up the pronunciation of it. Majar, I think, is about how it's pronounced, and it's Peter Majar. Now, Majar is the name of the Hungarian people, so it's basically like if a guy was named Johnny America. And as soon as I see that, I'm like, This reminds me of I think it was Bog Beef who had the meme about how the Democrats will just run a guy named John Normalson, who's like an ordinary, generic-looking white guy who talks like an ordinary, generic-looking white guy, and then he proceeds to govern like a Marxist. I see the guy's name being based Donald John America. Donald John America. Oh, that's so good. But I see that, and that trips that like John Normalson thing. Like, of course, the guy's name is the Hungarian equivalent of Johnny America. So automatically, I'm suspicious. Now he gets elected in the Hungarian election, going up against Viktor Orban, and doesn't just get elected, but his party gets elected to a supermajority, which gives them the power potentially to actually modify the constitution. Hungary, of course, has been a notorious thorn in the side of the EU. Viktor Orban has been, of all the European leaders, perhaps the one who's closest to Trump. And this guy Majar comes out of nowhere all of a sudden, forms this party called, I believe it's TISA, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, and just like sweeps through this election. And it was very curious because only about 40% of the vote was in. And Orban just conceded very quickly. Orban had been prime minister for 16 years. He'd been there for a long time. It basically had a stranglehold on the government and all the institutions and everything. been there for 16 years. Majar was was part of his party and had been part of it for like 20 years. Was married to one of his, I think it was his like his finance minister or one of Orban's ministers. He was married to her. Then all of a sudden in 2024, he had a break. He divorced her, broke from the party over corruption. And in this election cycle, he ran specifically as basically, I'm going to be Orban, except maybe even more right wing. I'm going to clean up but it's going to be without the corruption. I'm going to clean up all the corruption, and I'm going to have more normalized relations with the EU. As soon as he's elected, Alex Soros, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, all the usual characters were exultant. Aha, victory! Donald Tusk, was he the prime minister of Poland? Another big gay guy. Donald Tusk is just like near tears, just exultant about this. And so you look at this and you're like, okay, so here's your new globalist stooge who's just come in. He's named John Normalson, and he sweeps through with this massive supermajority. The whole globalist World Economic Forum, sort of all the EU people, they're all exultant. Aha, finally we've taken back, secured Hungary. Hungary has chosen Europe instead of aligning with murder and dictators and fascism and blah, 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 blah. And so I see that, and I just kind of assume, okay, yeah, there's lots of people that I trust who know the European political situation and the Hungarian situation better than I do. They're all very upset about this, or at least they're like, yeah, this is a big L. And then I started. This was the first tweet that I came across that was like, well, that's kind of an interesting thing, and I started digging into it a little bit more. So let me read a couple of these things, because what I'm convinced of now is if I think it's probably pretty likely that he is essentially a Soros stooge. That this is like the globalists winning a big one or something like that. But there's a few things that just the fact that Orban conceded very quickly, the way that he did. There was mail-in ballots that came in later that were overwhelmingly for Orban, but I think he presumably still lost. But J.D. Vance went and visited him just before this happened. Trump and Vance had endorsed Orban for obvious reasons. And but then when asked about Majar, Trump said he's a good guy and I think he's going to do a really good job. I'm like, okay, so there's a few things here that just aren't completely adding up. And so then I saw this tweet and I was like, oh, now this is the sort of thing that I want to hear. This is fun. So translated from French, this guy Silvano Trota Officiel. So this is like foreign sort of. It strikes me as like foreign schizo breaking slop kind of. He says the rumors I've been telling you about for the past 2 days are starting to take shape more and more. If you've been reading me since Sunday, everything has been mysterious in this Hungarian election. The rumor that's swelling. According to information provided by Serbian intelligence sources. Okay, so Serbian intelligence is the supposedly the source for this. The real objective of Orban's defeat is to allow him to become the Trojan horse that Donald Trump wants to place at the heart of the European Union. The American president would like the former Hungarian prime minister to be the next candidate for the presidency of the European Commission, currently held by Ursula von der Leyen, who leads an increasingly fragile majority and has already survived a censure motion, a sign of deep fractures within the EU institutions. Trump has more than one trick up his sleeve to discredit von der Leyen, and among them, the most serious seems to be the one linked to the Pfizer affair. Ursula, in addition to having deleted several text messages exchanged with Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, would have benefited from a massive bribe of $760 million disguised as a commission paid by the aforementioned pharmaceutical multinational to her husband Heiko, who was providentially hired by a company called Orgenesis, itself linked to Pfizer. This is probably the biggest bribe in European history, but the only journalist to have revealed it, the Romanian Adrian Onciu, lost his job for it, while his other colleagues in the mainstream media are too busy accusing Moscow and Budapest of corruption to look under the Brussels rug, where bribes and secret commissions of the various commissioners are teeming. The Pfizer affair, however, is not the only weapon at the disposal of Trump and Orban. The former Hungarian prime minister himself compiled a substantial dossier on all the serious financial irregularities involving Ursula von der Leyen and presented it to the European Parliament last August, of course without the press reporting on it. Orban focused in particular on the huge sum of the Cohesion Fund, which amounted to 392 billion euros, 2 of which ended up at von der Leyen's former university, where the president of the European Commission taught epidemiology in the late 1990s. According to Orban, von der Leyen is guilty of the most classic embezzlement of public funds intended not for any useful works or initiatives, but for institutions of all kinds, always linked to von der Leyen herself and to other European commissioners. Thank you, Bobby Ballbags, for the 5 gifted subs. We've got Zoomer Dylan and Hope Pilled. I recognize those names. Brooks 710, DJ Neela, Tyke for real. Thank you, Bobby Ballbags. You're a patriot, sir. Gotta mark these, make sure I've already read them. Okay. The same dynamic would have occurred with the funding aspect of the Next Generation EU program, in which some 5 billion euros ended up landing in various German consulting firms, once again linked to the president of the European Commission, the most generous to himself in terms of such gifts. This is actually just the tip of an iceberg whose peak we are only just beginning to glimpse. Below, there are other loans, like those of the infamous PNRR, allocated to ghost contracts for companies linked to various political parties, yada yada yada, corruption, blah blah blah. The euphoria reigning in Brussels may give way to perplexity when it becomes evident that nothing has changed in Budapest, while Orban is now free to run for the presidency of the European Commission, armed with a suitcase full of documents that reveal the skeletons in Ursula von der Leyen's closet. Kirill Dmitriev, close advisor to Vladimir Putin, seemed to have understood this when he commented on the results of the Hungarian election, stating that these results would only accelerate the fall of the fragile and isolated European Union. In Moscow, as in Washington, everyone is perfectly aware of what's going to happen. In Brussels, on the other hand, they were celebrating a measure aimed at giving a decisive boost to the EU regime. The last to understand the story are always those who refuse to accept its verdicts. Now, this seems to be a extremely unlikely possibility. However, looking at everything that's in front of me that I've seen about this thus far, and I'm going to show you guys some more here in just a moment, looking at all of these things, I'm left to conclude that either this is true or at least partially true, and there is some fucking masterful scheming happening now, and the Patriots in control, 5D chess, trust the plan, like I kneel. Incredible. Either that, or the globalists have there's been a step function increase in the sophistication and effectiveness of the globalists in the types of candidates that they're putting forth. Their power levels are reaching levels previously unknown, and either way, I think this is a watershed moment. Whether he actually is a globalist stooge, if he is, the types of the caliber of their stooges has suddenly increased immensely, and this is a BFD in a bad way for the patriots in the crowd, for the non-globalists. It's also possible that it's just, the globalists are just taking a different form, and it's going to be bad in some ways and good in some ways, and that may be the ultimate, the most plausible answer here. But this is what the guy followed up with. The EU had frozen billions of euros in European funds to Hungary due to rule of law issues, namely corruption, independence of the judiciary, freedom of the press, etc. To unlock this money, Brussels had drawn up a list of 27 concrete requirements for the EU-backed candidate who won the elections, Peter Majar. So there's 27 requirements that they're basically holding these funds hostage. I think it's like 90 billion euros or something. They're holding these funds hostage unless Hungary agrees to all of these 27 specific requirements. And no surprise, Magyar agrees to meet only 4 conditions. First, strengthening anti-corruption measures. And from all the reading and everything that I've seen around this, it seems pretty clear that corruption was absolutely a major issue with Orban. He's like the best of, perhaps the best, most patriot aligned of the European leaders, but the same types of corruption and stuff that exist everywhere else within European politics and European politics derivatives existed in spades with Orban. So there was plenty of, if you wanted to run an anti-Orban campaign on anti-corruption, there was tons and tons and tons of material to work with. So strengthening anti-corruption measures is something that he's agreed to. Restoring the independence of investigative authorities in the judicial system. There's some nice euphemisms for you. Restoring freedom of the press. He will stop public funding for pro-government media and enact a new media law. Number 4, restoring freedom in the academic sphere, ending political interference at universities. Now, these are both public funding for pro-government media, stopping that government funding. You could look at this a couple of different ways. Is the pro-government media actually good? Is this Patriot media, and now it's not going to be funded? That would be the he's a globalist stooge angle. Or is the pro-government media corrupt and bought off by malevolent influences, and he is attacking them? The notion that an insurgent, quote unquote, right-wing nationalist, strongly vocally nationalist government would come in and stop public funding for the media, this is rather unprecedented. This is, dare I say, rather Trumpian in a sense, in a very broad sense, but in a certain sense. Restoring freedom in the academic sphere, ending political interference at universities. It's also, there's kind of borrowing from a Trumpian platform there. But again, is this a euphemism? Well, I mean, it is a euphemism. What is it a euphemism for? Majar has been very clear. The rest of the EU's requirements will not be implemented. He defends Hungarian sovereignty. Here are the main points he is maintaining. He's maintaining Orban's social and tax policies, no repeal of the income tax exemption for mothers, no changes to pensions, and he will not raise income taxes. On immigration and borders, the southern fence, the anti-migrant barrier, remains in place, and he actually said he's going to be repairing it. A total rejection of the European Pact on Migration and Asylum. He came out and formally said, nope, rejecting that wholeheartedly. He's rhetorically, and at least initially, positioning himself to be even more anti-immigration than Orban. On energy and Russia, absolute priority, he said, is restarting the Druzhba pipeline, which brings in Russian oil. He says it's vital for the Hungarian economy. So, immediately he's like, nope, we're going to be opening up the Druzhba and buying Russian oil. That's not changing. On Ukraine, he said Ukraine will not join the EU until the rights of Transcarpathian Hungarians, the ethnic Hungarian minority in Ukraine, are fully restored. Language, education, and culture. Hungary will disengage from all European money sent to Ukraine. There will be a referendum in Hungary on Ukraine's EU accession, and there will be continued support for programs and rights of ethnic Hungarians abroad, including in Transcarpathia. His ideological stance. He will defend Hungary's interests and is not a federalist, i.e. he rejects a superstate Europe that dictates everything. So he says, conclusion is our analyses were spot on since Monday morning. See the post, and this is a huge slap in the face to the EU and to the political leaders who backed him. Will the media talk about it? Now, so again, like I can interpret all of these things in a very pro-patriot light. I can also interpret them all in a very subversive light, where he's like a fake nationalist. He's a fake patriot, a fake triot, you might say. He's the globalists have got their man, and now they're running candidates that are strong, even verging on ethno-nationalist, speaking the language of sovereignty, anti-corruption, getting government interference. They're kind of like limited governments, free markets, kind of very nationalist, sovereigntist in aesthetic and rhetoric, but they're actually they're the deep undercover ones. Is what I'm saying. Like if he actually is the globalist stooge, then it's time. It's like red alarm bells. They have powered up. This is a whole new sort of character. The only other characters in general politics that I can compare him to, from everything I've seen on him so far, are Trump and Bukele. And I'll show you guys some more stuff to kind of reinforce that. I'm not saying that he's understand what I mean by that. It's not that he is Trumpian or Bukelean in a very specific sense, but that the way that he comes in and just carries himself and sort of owns the room and is very aggressive and feisty, and just his rhetoric and his demeanor is all very reminiscent of the sort of not really beholden to one side or the other, but sort of striking a line down the middle and bull in the china shop, kind of. That's in that sense, I see him as very similar to Trump and Bukele. Yeah, Josh Ham says the Russian pipeline is necessary because Ukraine has cut off gas to other European countries, including Hungary, multiple times over political votes in the EU. And then he said socialism with nationalistic tendencies. Very much. Very much. He very much has a socialism with strong nationalistic tendencies, at least rhetorically. We'll see what happens when he starts actually doing things, but at least rhetorically. This is a thing he tweeted on November 7th of last year. He tweeted it in English, note, not in Hungarian and translated. He tweeted this in English. He said, "What is the difference between Donald Trump and Viktor Orban? Donald Trump has never been afraid to stand up for open, straightforward debates with his political opponents. Viktor Orban hasn't dared to do this for 20 years. Donald Trump has never represented foreign interests. Viktor Orban has been doing this for a very long time. Every decision Donald Trump makes serves the interests of American companies. For Viktor Orban, only his oligarchs matter. Trump became president as a billionaire. Orban became a billionaire from being prime minister. President Trump would truly make his country great. Viktor Orban is building his own empire. Donald Trump really wants to force Vladimir Putin to make peace. Viktor Orban, ... You can love him or hate him, but Trump is a born leader. Viktor Orban is a copy ordered from Temu who tries to imitate the original." Viktor Orban is Temu Trump. Once again, if this is the globalist stooge, this is a clear shift in tactics. The strategy could end up being the same, but the tactics have clearly changed. And one way that I thought about this is if you have there's kind of like the United States is there with the national security policy and the national defense policy and all the talk about NATO and everything. The United States has basically been telling Europe, you need to reignite your nationalist spirit. You need to start looking out for your own people. You need to double down on your own European values, not this gay stuff. Stop importing all these people and diluting your cultures. You need to preserve your cultures. But they're like clearly America has interfered in European politics in the past and continues to do so. And so if America has a change in management and now America is going to interfere in European politics in a pro-American sort of way, so they're still interfering in American and European politics, but they're doing it differently. They're doing it in the Trumpian direction versus in the global American empire gay direction. Then perhaps the response to that is, hey, hold on a second. No, we're strong nationalists who defend all of our interests, and we're going to purge all of your American subversion out of our country. Perhaps that is the globalist angle. But now you see how the globalists, it's now like, in order to continue their globalism, they actually have to start being nationalist. They're using nationalism to try to keep the emergent American empire from coercing their nations into the American imperial orbit. Which would make globalists kind of not globalists anymore. And I think this is a key thing to recognize, is that the globalists are not ideological per se. And I'm talking like the high table, above the high table sort of people. Globalism is a means to an end. But they're not ideologically motivated. They're motivated by power. By power and a desire for wealth and maybe more distasteful things, unsavory things. And so if America is going to become this, if America's imperial character is going to change, then the anti-American character is going to be forced to change as well. And it ends up becoming sort of like a shadow or like a reflection of it, kind of. So Americans are like, you need to stand on your own 2 feet. And they're going to be like, you can't make us stand on our own 2 feet. We're going to stand on our own 2 feet. So, what are some of the other things? Now, there's a bunch of rumors about Majar that are like, some of them are very dark, but I've also seen them being completely repudiated. But then so much of this stuff is in Hungarian, and like I can't get down into the nuances of all of this and understand, like, be able to identify psyops in intra-Hungarian politics. So that's why I'm trying to qualify a lot of what I'm saying with, like, I don't know shit about Hungarian politics, but I'm just looking at sort of like the vibes that are coming off of this and trying to parse through them. But there's stuff like he put a puppy in a microwave, and he let's say pleasured himself in front of his children and was beating his wife, and all sorts of like really insane dark shit that paints him as a complete and utter psychopath. No idea if this stuff is true or not. I'm not even capable of evaluating whether or not it is true. Trump, this is the thing. Trump told ABC News he was not concerned about Viktor Orban's loss in Hungary, and that he likes incoming Prime Minister Peter Majar. I think the new man's going to do a good job. He's a good man, Trump told the reporter. Trump told the reporter he did not know if it would have made a difference if he'd gone to Hungary instead of Vice President J.D. Vance to campaign for Orban. So look at this. Look at this image here. This is Majar here. This is the current Hungarian president, who came up through Orban's party, but is now sort of like, he's like kind of cast himself as independent. But and Orban's party was it's like the right wing, like solidly right wing, conservative, traditionalist, anti-gay, anti-EU, but sort of having to kind of couldn't be wholly anti-EU, so sort of they were like a thorn in the side and constantly held votes hostage and that sort of thing. And then Magyar's campaign was anti-corruption, but it was like almost like more right-wing. Like he's signaling more right-wing, but also more pro-EU. Sort of like, we're actually going to engage with the EU and interface with the EU, but we're going to do it in a leadership way. We're not going to be unreasonable and everything. It's more technocratic. It's a little more, a little softer on some of the gay stuff. It's honestly very populist, and it's very Trumpian in that sense. In that sense specifically. Trying to draw parallels between Hungarian politics and American politics it's a totally different political environment. I'm aware enough of that. But in that sense where Trump sort of is more conservative than the GOP, but also less. He sort of breaks it. That's sort of how his party seems. And a lot of the leftist parties either abstained, or basically they're just like small minorities. So they essentially acquiesced to him so that he would get such a large majority that it would finally rid them of Orban. So he sort of formed a coalition that pulled together a lot of the moderates, the left, whatever, and formed it behind this populist kind of uprising that swung to a supermajority. So he goes and meets with the president, and just look at the vibes here, the posture. You sort of got the penis envy, or not penis envy, but penis shame with both of them, but much more with the president than with Majar. And I gotta admit, I suspect that a large part of why he was as successful as he is simply because he looks like he does compared to Orban. You see, he holds his frame very, very well. But listen to this. This is what he went and said to... He posted this picture of himself meeting with the president and then tweeted this. I have arrived at the Sandor Palace to meet the president of Hungary. He tags him, Tamás Szolyak, is unworthy of representing the unity of the Hungarian nation. He is unfit to serve as the guardian of legality. He is not fit to serve as a moral authority or a role model. Following the formation of the new government, Tamás Szolyak must leave office immediately. So he goes and meets with him, takes a picture with him, frame mogs him in the picture, then posts he's unworthy of representing the unity of the country. He is unfit to serve as the guardian of legality. He is not fit to serve as a moral authority or role model. He must leave office immediately. This guy says, peak Magyar trolling. Goes to see the president, who has no choice but to name him prime minister, tells him to his face that he's a disgrace to his function and unworthy of the title, calls him to resign the second after he will have named Magyar prime minister, takes a pic with the guy after all. Talk about asserting dominance. This is the sort of thing I mean when I say the only other candidates for office that I've seen that really conduct themselves like this, from like a aggressiveness, asserting dominance sort of way, while being very right-coded in most of the messaging, are Trump and Bukele. This guy here, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this, but it's something Laszlo. He's from this, I think it's Mihajank. I looked up the pronunciation of it, but I don't remember exactly what it was. It's something like Mihajank. This guy here, this party, is the hard right party. This is the like openly ethno-nationalist party, the party that accuses Orban's party of being too globalist and too friendly to the EU. And I think they have like something like 6 seats out of 200 or so in parliament. So they're kind of a minority position, but these are like they get accused of being anti-Semitic, and they're explicitly ethno-nationalist. He says he went and met with the guy, and he says, I met with the president. I told him that democracy and the rule of law cannot be restored through anti-democratic methods. If Magyar abuses his power, and with the 2/3 majority he owes precisely to the unjust, disproportionate electoral system created by Fidesz, which is Orban's party, then he will not exercise that power any more democratically than Fidesz did. So the hard-right ethno-nationalists in Hungary criticize Orban's party for not being democratic enough. You see what I mean about like trying to really understand the nuances of Hungarian politics is not like it would take forever for me to fully understand it. But this is one of the claims being laid against Orban, is that he rigged the electoral system in his favor. And so Magyar coming out of his party and forming he's like the son who turns around and attacks the father, sort of, comes out of Orban's party and then sweeps him out of power, but he's saying he would just be benefiting from the same corruption that he ran against. He said there will be no system of checks and balances if the TISA party, this is Magyar's party, seats the person it has chosen in the president's chair. If Szolyak, the president, is not preparing for obstruction but intends to serve the entire nation, then in the current situation he should fulfill his mandate. In response to my question, Szolyak indicated that he is not preparing for obstruction and does not intend to resign under political pressure. I told him that since our founding, we have considered it unacceptable for a single party to enact a constitution, which is why we have always criticized the fundamental law. Changing the constitution would only be possible if the TISA party, again, this is Magyar's party, using its 2/3 majority, calls a constituent national assembly, after which parliament would dissolve itself. If it does not choose this path, it would essentially amount to a constitutional coup. At the same time, I also informed the president about yesterday's events in Oradea, which is in Romania, on the Hungarian border. There's like a Hungarian ethnic minority there that is like, this is a Hungarian concern about the way that the Hungarians living in Romania are being treated. The president promised to do his best to stand up for the Hungarian Catholic community in Oradea and the Premonstratensian abbot. So you have the hard-right ethno-nationalist guy going to meet with the president saying, don't acquiesce to political pressure and step down. That would be undemocratic, and it would be a violation of the spirit of our constitution, or the spirit of our government, for Magyar to abuse his 2/3 majority to modify the political structure so significantly. So then Magyar went on state television for the first time. He did his entire campaign without going on state television at all, because like apparently state television is owned by Orban. They're corrupt, bought and paid for. Never went on there, campaigned by going traveling all over the place, pressing the flesh, going, meeting people in person. That was how he campaigned. The first time that he went as a guest on state television was after he won. And these are the things he said. We will suspend this channel's news service. This isn't about me. I'm not seeking revenge. Our people deserve journalism that reflects the truth. We will nationalize the assets given to business people and foundations during the Orban era. So, proscriptions. We're going to proscribe assets given to business people and foundations by Orban on the anti-corruption tack. And we're going to suspend the public news service. The Matthias Corvinus Collegium Foundation, close to Orban, was transferred 10% of the oil company and a pharmaceutical company for free. We will take back these shares. After 16 years of the Orban era, 400,000 Hungarian children in this country are living in deep poverty. President Sulyok is no longer the president of this country in my eyes or in the eyes of the people. The host asked about his meeting with Zelensky as a counterpoint, and he said, I get your joke and I even like it, but your references no longer carry any meaning. According to you, Germany has collapsed, there's no internet there, and people aren't even having sex. The Hungarian people were laughing at you. So there's like Orban-initiated propaganda about how bad the situation is in Germany, and he's saying, yeah, you're full of shit, the Hungarian people don't believe you, this is why I'm pulling you off the air. It was said on this channel that even my young children won't talk to me, when in fact my children live with me. When the host interrupted him, he said, no host in this studio ever dared to interrupt Hungary's most corrupt and most lying prime minister. And when asked about the legal basis for closing the news service, he said, for someone on this channel to accuse me of breaking the law looks like a thief accusing the police. So again, I don't really have a political framework for a world in which you have the most right-wing or the most right-coded government in Europe, basically, now being attacked on the basis of corruption and violation of free speech and whatever, and this guy coming in and we're going to nationalize assets and I'm taking the moral high ground against you, but in a powerful right-coded way. This is all the stuff why I was kind of I don't necessarily know if I want to talk about all this, but I'm seeing enough now, especially with this. This is when I was just all right, come the fuck on now. He goes to he's at the government building there, which I think for the parliament, which happens to be, there's this balcony, and it happens to be right next to the prime minister's office. And he's out on the balcony, and this happens. Orban is out on the balcony opposite there, and they publish this video with Lincoln Park behind it, him looking from this balcony across to Orban standing there looking sad on his balcony.
Abszolút filmszínház.
And he did the absolute cinema meme. Absolute cinema. And apparently, this isn't a direct translation. It's a little awkward. He's forcing the word that he used is forcing the meme. He literally did the meme. Absolute cinema. This is not AOC. This is not Kaya Kallas. This is not Queer Starmer. This is not Mark Carney. This is a whole different caliber of candidate. And if this guy is a globalist stooge, they have leveled up significantly with him. You couldn't get away with this plot development in an airport paperback. No kidding. And then this.
Reálisan ő azt mondta, hogy május 6-7-e lehet az a 1 vagy 2 nap. Reálisan ő azt mondta, hogy május 6-7-e lehet az a 1 vagy 2 nap.
He did that with his hands while he was saying it could be by May 6 or 7. He did the 6-7 meme.
Ő azt mondta, hogy május 6-7-e lehet az a 1 vagy 2 nap.
And then the very last thing here, the new Hungarian prime minister alleges Matt Schlapp's CPAC took foreign funds and calls it a crime. Hungary's incoming prime minister, Peter Majar, announced plans to investigate the use of taxpayer funds under Viktor Orban's administration, including financial support for the Conservative Political Action Conference, or CPAC, organized by American Conservative Union, ACU, Chairman Matt Schlapp. This is Matt Schlapp right here. This is Peter Majar at CPAC. And the article here, it's just brief. Hungary's incoming leader plans to investigate taxpayer funding of Matt Schlapp's Conservative Political Action Conference by Viktor Orban's government. What happened in Hungary's incoming prime minister, he criticized the practice of using state funds to support political events, calling it a crime. Following his election victory, Magyar delivered a series of statements emphasizing a return to democratic norms. He specifically highlighted concerns about past government spending on politically aligned international events, including CPAC Hungary. As part of this effort, Magyar voted to task the National Office for the Recovery and Protection of Public Assets with thoroughly auditing previous government spending decisions. He added that CPAC would be welcome to return to Hungary if it is self-financed, with Schlapp responding on X that he was gratified and would take him up on that and work with people of Hungary to defend their sovereignty. The key quote, Magyar said, "Mixing party financing with government spending from the state budget is, in my view, a criminal offense." Orban's government courted the American conservative movement. An investigation revealing misuse of public funds could complicate relations between U.S. conservatives and Hungary's new government, potentially affecting future international collaborations. Matt Schlapp, head of the American Conservative Union, which runs CPAC, received compensation approaching $1 million annually, while CPAC's influence and attendance were reportedly declining, raising questions about financial mismanagement and priorities within the organization. Prior tax filings indicate a significant drop in CPAC-related revenues, with the lowest level since 2018. And wait for it, Schlapp has also been dogged by allegations of carrying out homosexual assaults against young men for years. This had to get the little, zoink, last knife into the ribs. Interestingly, Trump did not even attend CPAC this year. I don't remember if anybody from the Trump administration attended CPAC this year. It was like people were posting pictures about how low the attendance was, and it's clearly not a high priority. Oh, what was this I just saw? Oh man, I hate it when it does that. There was another thing about something from Hungary, and this is interesting. He said, "Thank you to the National Police Chief for the offer, but I continue to decline personal police protection, whether 24-hour or otherwise. I've had nothing to fear so far, and I tend to work in such a way that I will have nothing to fear in the future. Hungary will become a place where no one who works and lives honestly has to be afraid. Thank you to our police officers for their service." Tweeted from his account in English. And then this is a breaking slop tweet, so I don't know. I can't validate it, but who's this retweeted by? A couple large accounts. Okay. The new Hungarian prime minister announces that from June 1st, he will end all non-European migrant work permits. Quote, "Their arrival will be reduced to 0. We want to work on returning ethnic Hungarians from Western Europe." He declares a stop on all guest workers by June 1st, 2026. It's a system that can only be fixed by going radically in the complete opposite direction. Yarvin says, "I did tell the Budapest immigrant crowd that if they lost the election, they would be the new regime's first targets and nothing on paper would protect them." So, Yarvin has been talking to Hungarian expats. Anyways, so, you see what I mean? You see how, I don't know how to... I don't know what to think of him. It seems very obvious, all the connections to him being a globalist stooge and all that, they seem legit. But this is a very, very different sort of political stooge, globalist political stooge. I find it really, really improbable that President Trump has this galaxy-brained plan worked out to orchestrate this long con where he leaves and they have this really, really personally hostile campaign. He takes over, and then Orban now goes for the president of the European Commission. Okay, like, I want to live in that world. I hope that's true. And either way, Zoomer Dylan says that this guy's a globalist and they just fuck themselves. Is this, like, if this guy is a globalist, then, like, we're now at a point where, remember I said that the Democrats' only hope was, of competing now was tacking toward MAGA and going MAGA light? Or like, we do MAGA better? We're the real America first? It seems like this would be a similar thing. The globalists have finally decided, okay, we need to completely reimagine what we're doing here, and we need to start trying to, like, out-nationalism the nationalists. It's very, very strange. I haven't been able to make heads or tails of it. That's all that I've gathered for now. So I'm curious to know what anybody else thinks about this. If they, I'm not convinced that he's a globalist. I'm not convinced that he's not. I can come up with lots of fascinating schemes that could be worked out. He's a double, triple agent, a Manchurian candidate for one side, masquerading as a Manchurian candidate for the other side. They ran a long con on him, or this is like just a pragmatic move by the globalists, recognizing that now we need to lean into European nationalism to combat the emergence of the American empire. And so we're going to see a whole new wave of nationalist, right-coded leaders taking over European governments. I don't think that's the worst thing possible. I can definitely see the downsides to it, but I mean, hey, at least it's different. And maybe this is a galaxy-brained, masterful plan orchestrated to make Orban go, oh no, I lost. Oh, bummer. I guess I'll just acquiesce. And it kind of makes their whole thing like he's like an autocrat. It makes it sort of a little toothless. And they maintain this like, antagonism, hostility, for the next few years, which gives him the cred, I guess, to not just look like a Hungarian attempt to take over the EU. Echo 4 Victor says, I'm just going with, this is a good thing orchestrated by my president to make Europe great again. Yeah, that works for me for now. Emperor Atreides says, sounds like the right is evolving. The globalists will be replaced with nationalists. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can rule out the idea that, like, this whole thing has been underway for long enough now that the clever right-wing people out there who actually know how to navigate within the system, how to work the system, you would expect that there would be somewhere that start figuring it out, start playing the long game, embedding themselves in, like, knowing how the system works and navigating within it. Like, you would expect that those people would emerge eventually. The way that Bukele pulled off what he did was insane. The only way he could have done that is if he had extraordinarily powerful backers who wanted to make that happen, who've managed to keep themselves essentially. I haven't seen any big great think pieces about the great financiers behind the Bukele operation, but he obviously had them. So it's not, I guess, completely out of the possibility to me that could be happening within Hungary as well. But there's a lot of people who I am inclined to trust, who know Hungarian politics better than I do, who are like, yeah, no, this guy's a demon. He's Davos's greatest operator yet. So who knows? It'll give us something interesting to watch. All right, well, that is all that I have for you guys today. This later edition of the Lab, almost 2 p.m. It will not be this late tomorrow. I was not going to do a show, but then wound up. I knew it was going to happen like this. I was going to wind up going for over 3 hours once I got going. But I'm glad I did. Thank you to you guys for showing up, joining me here. Go join the Kingpill Discord at kingpill.com, and make sure you join us for the voice chat in the Discord tomorrow evening. I'll be back tomorrow morning for another episode of the Astrolab, and make sure that you're here on Saturday for the Saturlabe, the Pseudowave, it is going to be The Departed. Stay tuned for more fun things to come. Make sure you follow me on all the places. Please do remember to tip your streamer. You can do it any time of the day or night by going to tips.kingpilled.com or going to Cash App or Venmo at Kingpilled for those. And deeply appreciate all your guys' contributions. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. For now, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America